Mhm. Okay, boys and girls. Good evening. Our mayor, Tori DeShantz, is going to be late 10 to 15 minutes, so I'll start the meeting. Meeting Committee of the Whole Administration Operations, Monday, May 13th. The council chambers in Spencerville, Ontario. Call this meeting to order at 6:30. May I have approval of the agenda? Move it. Moved by Mr. Martell and seconded by Mr. Smell. All in favor? Carried. Number 3, disclosure of pecuniary interest, conflict of interest, and general nature thereof. Does anybody have a conflict of interest or none here? Pecuniary interest, good. Number 4, business arising from the previous committee of the whole meeting minutes, if any. Do you have anything?
I have nothing.
No? No? Do I need to move for that? No. And number 5, we have delegation presentations. Tonight we have 2. The first one, 5A, is Jamie Pollock, MNP LLP, for our 2023 financial statements. Go ahead, Jamie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, council members of council and administration. Most people know who I am. I'm Jamie Pollock. I'm a partner with MNP of the Cornwall office, and I'm happy to be here to go through the draft financial statements. If there's any questions, please answer either throughout my delegation presentation or at the so there's a few things that's in your package. One is a one-page summary, which I will go through with you, and I kind of call it a cheat sheet, but it summarizes everything on one page. We have the financial statements and the audit findings report. So I'll just go through some of the highlights of the financial statements. As indicated, they are in draft, and they're on draft. You as council accept them as a whole. I believe in 2 weeks from now. So these are the consolidated financial statements. They include, of course, the operations of the township, along with your portion of your ownership of Rideau St. Lawrence Utilities and the Port of Johnstown. If we turn to actually the page that it's not in my package, but it should be right after the management responsibility page. So when you're looking at the screen and then your package, you're reading about the 4th page in, this is our independent auditor's report.
Could you give me a page number, Ken? Page 19 of whatever, maybe 136 or whatever?
Page 21. The mayor's copy here, page 21. Page 21.
Thank you.
So I won't go through the whole report. It's still in draft. I'll just go through the first 2 paragraphs. We have audited the consolidated financial statements of the corporation of the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal. The township would comprise the consolidated statement of financial position as of December 31st, 2023, and the consolidated statements of operations, accumulated surplus, changes in net financial assets, cash flows, and the related schedules for the year then ended. And notes to the consolidated financial statements, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the accounting consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the consolidated financial position of the township as of December 31st, 2023, and the results of its consolidated operations, changes in its net financial assets, and consolidated cash flows for the year then ended according to the Canadian Public Sector Accounting Standards. So it's a clean audit opinion. That's what you want to hear from us as your auditors. The return 23 in your package. This is your consolidated statement of financial position or your balance sheet. It is at a particular point in time at December 31st, 2023. When you look at your total assets, your assets is 65.2 million compared to 61.3 million from the previous year. And that's about a 9% increase. When you go through kind of the line item, yes, your overall cash is down, but it's still 9.1 million compared to 10 million the previous year. It was up by 22%, and your accounts receivable is also up by 23% from year over year. Your biggest increases with your investment in the Port of Johnstown from 1 year over to the next. Under liabilities, your total liabilities is 8.9 million compared to 9.3 million, a small decrease of about just under $400,000. Most of that decrease is under accounts payable. That's where part of your cash went, was paid down part of last year's payables. So what current year balance is 1.9 compared to 2.1. Also, municipal debt is down by 292,000 or 5%. You did made significant payments during the year. And your asset retirement obligations, this is a new accounting standard. Just replace your landfill closure and post-closure costs. And because you have a closed landfill site and you're just monitoring those costs year over year, that liability is going down in time. So net financial assets, 56.2 million compared to 51.9 million. So what does that represent? So if you take your cash, you collect all your receivables, you sold your land, held for resale, cash out all your investments, and then pay down your payables, your debt, your asset retirement obligations, you should have net 56.2 million in net financial assets. But don't go spend that. Under non-financial assets, you have tangible capital assets, which is 41.5 million compared to 37.9, the increase of 9.2% for $3.5 million. And that is your capital expenditures in the year less amortization expense. So your total accumulated surplus is 97.9 compared to 90 million the previous year. So if you turn to page 2, this is your statement of financial activities or your income statement. If you look at the middle column compared to the budget on your left-hand side, your total revenue for the year is 14.7 million compared to a budget of 13.5, for an increase of 1.2 million or 8.7% over budget. Most of that increase is in your investment income for dividends from your subsidiaries and proceeds from the sale of land. Expenses for the year was just under 13.5 million, 452,000 below budget or 3.7%. We have under other revenue, which mainly relates to your capital activities. Total amount came in at 6.5 million for a total surplus for the year of $7.8 million. Now this surplus is for public sector accounting standards. You don't budget it based on that. You don't prepare your budget or your operations on that. So I'd like to go back to the one-page summary that is in the package. And this kind of brings down to what your operating surplus for the year is. And it kind of gives the actual to the budget and then some descriptions on where you end up. So your operating surplus for the year, of course, it's not 7.8 million because that's before capital items and long-term debt payments. There we go. So your operating surplus for the year is 97,952, and that's the last number on the bottom of the page that you see there. That's your surplus for the year. We also had a water and sewer surplus for the year of $178,574. So you might wonder how did we came up with those figures for the year. So we kind of look at the revenue actual compared to budget, and we take out PSAS items and non-cash items like amortization. So your taxation revenue, you basically came in right in budget, just within $7,700. Fees and service charges, you basically came in right in line with budget as well, so that's great. Grants, lower grants, from the United Counties. Funding required of $228,000, and that's due mainly because of timing of some capital projects, especially the joint project that you had with them regarding County Road 2 in the year. Donations and other, you'll see, investment income, you receive dividends from the Port of Johnstown, which is reported, which you did not budget it for, $697,000, and then the sale of land, as indicated, wasn't budgeted for, so that was over budget by $454,000. So you had $922,000 of extra income to the good, or 6.8% that you have. Going through expenditures under general government, you had higher professional and contract services required, so you're a little bit over on budget there. Protection to persons and property, when you look at 2.1, I'd say 16,000, the rate in line with budget. Transportation services, 3.5 million compared to 4.1, and that's due to timing of capital work done and some, I'll say, capital minor repairs and maintenance. So a savings of 687,000. So there was less bridge work and street work done that was required in the project with the county. There was less spent on that. Environmental services, you had savings in salaries and benefits that brought you with a surplus there of $32,000. Recreation and cultural services, you had additional salaries and benefits that was over budget and planned. That's the only major hiccup during the year. And then planning and development, you had savings and professional fees. So you had savings of expenditures of 3.6% or $437 with a net revenue in excess of budget of $1.3 million. So under financing, transfers, and capital at the bottom part, you actually transferred a net increase into operating, and it's a net amount because what you receive from the Port of Johnstown and the sale of land, you put into reserves. Your operating surplus for the year, water and sewer, that went into reserves, but what you took out during the year was to pay out a debt of $852,000. So that debt was paid out, and a new one was renewed with the province of Ontario through their infrastructure loan. But the net change is actually a favorable amount of $94,000 to the township. Capital expenditures, net of transfers, 5.7 million. There's a savings, or more like a timing of $1 million. There's less water and sewer capital work done of 450,000, less road capital of 488. Capital grant, because of the timing, you receive less grants of $1.4 million. The infrastructure grant that wasn't received in 2023, is my understanding, it was transferred, financed by reserves in 2024. Proceeds from long-term debt as budgeted, and then the repayment, you can see the excess of 852,000. That was covered off by transfer from reserve. So at the end, because of savings in capital and additional revenue, you end up having a surplus for water and sewer of 178,000 that end up being transferred to reserve, and operating surplus of 97,952 that's transferred to reserve. So I will state that you had a good year. You ended up positive for both water and wastewater, and with your operating for the year. So if we go back to the financial statements to page maybe 25 is my guess in your package. Which should be the change in net financial assets. Does anyone have any questions before I move forward? Because you know I'm a guy that can do this all night. So under actual, you had a surplus for PSAS purposes of 7.8 million. The amortization of tangible capital assets, we add that non-cash item back of 1.7. We reduce what you spent on tangible capital assets, which was 5.2 million, which leaves you with your overall increase in net financial assets of 4.2 million in the year. And then when you take out what you received from the Port of Johnstown, which was 4.4 million, your overall decrease then would be only 176. So without that, you basically broke even on a net financial assets point of view, and since you budget for break even, that shows up very positive for the township. As we go through other parts of the financial statement, to return to the state schedule of tangible capital assets. Of course, if you look at the column to the right hand side, second column in, the balance, the opening balance, and of course this is what's recorded for PSAP purposes, that's recorded on historical cost less accumulated amortization. So it's not your replacement value or your fair market value, but it has been recorded for accounting purposes. So during, you had an opening balance of $98 million in cost, you had an addition of 5.2 million, and some disposal of 253 for 83 million closing balance. Amortization for the year was 1.7 million for a closing accumulated amortization balance of 41.6 for a net book value amount of 41.5 million, which is up by 3.7 million from the previous year. What does these numbers represent? Well, two things we like to look at, which we like to bring to your attention. One is what's the percentage of the net book value compared to your cost? Well, that amount is 50%. Whereas the previous 5%. So any time where you're going up, that's a positive sign, and that represents that all of your assets, you still have 50% of it remaining use available to utilize, and half of it has been utilized, and the other half you still have 50% more to use over the remaining life. The second thing that we like to see during the year, the additions were 5.2 million, and the amortization is 1.7. We always like to see municipalities put in at least the same amount of amortization expense of the infrastructure additions in a year, which means that you're always keeping up with the aging of the infrastructure. So this year you put in excess of 3.7 million on top of the amortization, so you're renewing your infrastructure system. And you can see what it's broken down to is mainly land, building, vehicles. Of course, the biggest increase is under roads and water and sewer systems in the year, and that total is very close to $5 million during the year, about 4.5 million actually. So you are putting more than what you're amortizing, so you're always increasing your asset level, tangible capital assets that we do have. And we turn to the next page. It's basically the same schedule, but broken down by department. Not a surprise, transportation, environmental services carry all the additions in the year. That amount is 4.4 million amortization expense. If we turn to the schedule of accumulated surplus, and it's kind of broken into three parts: your operating surpluses, which includes your investment in your subsidiary, plus your small capital fund and your inventory surplus. Closing balance 53.6 million, 48.6 million previous year. The main increase is the increase in your investment with the Port of Johnstown. Just to let you know, we have draft figures for the Port of Johnstown. You'll see under Rideau St. Lawrence Holdings Inc., there's no change. Their audit is still in the completion stage, as we can say, but it should be completed by the end of the month. So we don't have any figures there yet for Rideau St. Lawrence Utilities. Reserves and reserve funds, your overall reserves is 3.9 million, went up by 525,000 from the previous year, 80%. Most of that increase was under the fire department at 861 in the middle. Your reserve funds is 5 million compared to 6.5 million, a decrease of 1.4 million or 22%. But that was based on what you budgeted for, and the main decrease is under the GIC investment, which is used for the capital projects. And the other big is under water and sewer that was used in the year, mainly with that county road two. Plus other investments in the other area systems. The total reserves and reserve funds, 9 million compared to 9.9 million. Yes, you're down by about 900,000. But I can show you in a few pages that you're still in very strong financial health, which was $9 million, plus you've got cash in the bank of about $10 million to represent. The remaining part is your invested in tangible capital assets, since your assets less the debt, 35.3 million compared to 31.5 million. Just if we go to maybe page 18. I just want to go through some of the notes to the financial statement. This would be page 40 in your package. You have your obligatory reserve funds. Because there's legislation requirements, they're shown as deferred revenue or a liability on your financial statements. Your federal gas tax funds unspent portion is 260,000 at the end of the year. And your COVID-19 reserve is still an unspent balance of 58,000 for overall obligatory reserve funds of $318,000. Under the municipal debt, the only main change is one second line from the bottom, the loan payable for Infrastructure Ontario. It started the year at 1 million, but you paid a good chunk of that down and it was renewed, so the closing balance is now 1,060,000 compared to 1,083,000. The total debt 6.2. If we turn to page, the note 12, on the second page, we have a breakdown on where those are actuals from the financial statements at the front and how you budget. You might look at the statement and it says PSAS.
Sorry, which page did you indicate?
I am going to page. My page is 21, but it's your page 43. 43.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned earlier, back on the statement of financial activities, and you had a budget amount and surplus amount of 7.8. You know, the budget was 6.8, the left-hand column and the middle column, the year 7.8. But this chart kind of reconciled right down to nail that, yes, you did balance a balanced budget for the year, and this shows changes that doesn't go through the financial statement, that goes through this chart, because on the financial statements, we don't see the transfers for reserves, but used for operations. You don't see, you know, the amortization expense or the payments of long-term debt. The middle column kind of shows that. But when you see they catch it, but the second last line there, when we see transfer to water and sewer reserves, that should be 178,574 and not the 671. So that's just the one little typo that we had. I just want to bring it to your attention. But it shows you, like we did when we went through the one-page summary, what your water and sewer surplus for the year is and what your operating reserve was. And then the last two pages just shows you a 5-year history of your revenues and your expenses and the property taxes over the last 5 years. And then the last page of the statements shows some financial indicators. And there's just a couple of things to bring to your attention. One, the tax arrears, the percentage of loan levy, it's about 11% compared to 9%, so it's a 2% increase and not rose in the year. And as we go through our draft management letter, that's just one of our recommendations that just want to bring your attention, hey, your actual years did go up. You know, your management or administration team should just monitor that and try to increase the collections on those tax arrears. When you look at their sustainability, their financial assets to liabilities, a very healthy number at 7.28%. When you exclude the debt, it's 4.69, and that's kind of your traditional business working capital ratio, with healthy at 4.69. Debt charges to operating revenues, yes, it went from 4 to 9% in a year because of the amount of debt. So you always like to see that below 10% or 12% at the most. So you still kind of within guidelines. And under reserves coverage, your total reserve and reserve funds is 9 million. It still represents about 67% of the total operating expenses. And we always recommend anywhere from 25 to 50%. So you use 67%, you were as high as 89 the last couple of years, but your reserves to help fund capital expenditures. And your reserve, the working capital, $2.15, and what that represents for every $1 of reserves you have $2.15 in working capital. So your reserves are well balanced with the amount of cash, taxes receivable, that's accounts payable. So your reserves are very, very healthy and in a very strong financial position. And these last two numbers kind of support that. For those are the financial statements. You had a good year. Your surpluses was brought into I believe your working capital reserve at the end of the year, and you're still in a very strong financial position. We do have an audit finding report, and I'll just bring your attention to our management recommendation letter. And I'll just go through this on a highlighted level. There's only one new recommendation that we have for this year based on our audit, and it's the review of the outstanding taxes receivable. It does indicate that they rose 22% from one year to the other. Administration is aware of this increase, and administration should consistently review their taxes receivable and follow up on outstanding balances to ensure collection is still expected. Any tax arrears on properties that are older than 2 years should be registered for tax planning. The points from previous years review of outstanding accounts receivable, it went up from 2022 from 21 to 22 of 22%. But the key part that was the increase was the water and sewer arrears receivable. That portion went down percent in the year, which is excellent to see. Your overall accounts receivable might have gone up by 23% in the year, but that's due to HST rebates and grants receivable. But the part that we were concerned with, you actually reduced that by 42%. So we're happy to see that. And the last part, segregation of duties, we would like to see an approval process on the adjustment entries made by the treasurer, as indicated in the response there. The size of your municipality is a limitation to having kind of a proper segregation of duties in place. They may need a deputy treasurer or someone else to approve the entries made by treasurer. As speaking with your current treasurer, when you do hire a new one, since his role has been expanded, that might be a good time to implement that control for the first 6 months or 1 year. So that is our report to council. Thank you very much for having me tonight. And I just like to thank all the great cooperation that we see from Sean and Dave and their team for the audit this past year.
Back to yeah, thank you for the presentation. I'm the chair. I'm back in the chair. So it was great having you back, and Jamie. Open it up to the floor if the floor has any questions for you. Okay, John, I'll start with you. Looks good.
Nothing for me.
No questions. I heard the word healthy several times.
Quite
Quite pleased that, yeah, it's across the
I do, I shouldn't maybe met with you, James, like what Sean said, but anyways, if you could just pass it on, I have a couple. In your professional opinion, how would you describe, our municipality now and the change over the year 1 and 2, 2022?
That's a very good question, so. I guess, from the last couple of years, I'm going through the financial indicators, and to me, this is probably the best way to look at it. You're still very healthy, you're still very strong financially. The tax arrears over the last 5 years, they were as high as 11 and dipped, and then it got back up again. So like I mentioned, you just need to monitor that. Debt charges, you have to take on more debt, we've done a lot more infrastructure, so. I guess that is always a balancing act, but you have the financial capabilities or the leverage to do that because of your position. The amount of reserves, actually overall, is 9 million, where 5 years ago it was 7.2 million, so you got to build up your reserves, mainly for future use. And one thing we do see is as your taxable assessment goes up over the last 5 years, the billing on that taxable assessment has gone up over those 5 years. So you're keeping pace with the increase in assessment, and that revenue is offsetting the increase in the expenditure due to the increase in CPI. So you're just as strong as you were, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you're raising the revenue necessary to offset those increases in expenses.
One more, Mr. Mayor?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And is there any other steps that we can take to improve or enhance the financial integrity of the municipality? Is there any other steps? That we can
I
take?
think what you're doing is well, I guess. I know we didn't get a chance to meet, but sometimes I know on some other committees, we always meet the committee beforehand, before it goes to council. With your size, I know larger municipalities have their own audit committee, which is only a subsector of, the council as a whole, and sometimes the auditor will meet with them and they approve the draft statements to go to council for their approval. But with your size, we can do it all together in one chance, in one meeting, and this is the meeting that we can do it. We do meet with your administration before they get presented to council, so they have a chance to review the management letter, have responses that go through these financial statements. These statements are really management's responsibility. We do put them together and present them, but really the only thing that's in these statements that is ours is the auditor's report. So we joke that the thing you're paying for us is 2 pieces of paper. So, but we do help put these together. The integrity is in place. I have no concerns on the process that we have here. If there is any additional step that you want to put in, we can always have a closed council meeting and go through it in more detail and then present overall final report to the open public. But that would be the only other step I could recommend, but it's not necessary.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good. All right, I think everybody's had, do you have a chance? Yeah. I think what I get out of what you're saying is that staff did a good job yet again,
Yes.
this year. There are very few, if any, issues for us to notice, a slight increase with receivables. But they're aware of that, and we can continue to move forward with that. We certainly had a mandate to close the infrastructure gap. It's obvious in this that we've done that by a considerable amount as well. And as we seem to have always hear, every year that I'm here, is that process portion where we don't have a deputy treasurer, that cash handling, or that one person accountability for the any cash that collected continues to be, a spot, but other than that, it's pretty clean, right?
That's correct.
Awesome, good. I think ultimately there are a few things that, from a closed session perspective, maybe over the next year that we schedule a meeting and we, some processes that, you know, we would like to tighten up a little bit, but well, overall, I think it's fantastic. I think it's always to staff for running, you know, a really good show, a very tight ship over the year. I think it's well done.
And with the, I'll say internal controls, you always gotta look at the cost benefit ratio. You know, how much money you're willing or time to spend to help put those controls in, or maybe an alternative control could be used instead, or. You know, or you almost agree to disagree that it's not possible here at this time to maybe not.
Yeah, we've always accepted that right now it's pretty much not possible, but yeah. But we continue to want to move forward and to do better, so. Good, thanks, Jim. I appreciate it.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, you too.
Thanks.
So we're on to 5B, am I correct?
Yes, you are. All right. Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so 5B under delegations and presentations, I believe is Kyle McCray. Hi, Kyle. Nice to meet you. Seaway Horticultural Society, so 10 minutes, Kyle, is usually what we set for a time limit to speak, and then we'll go for any follow-up questions, time's left.
Perfect. Hopefully this should be even less than 10 minutes. Pretty straightforward. All right, so I'm here to propose a small pollinator garden at the Cardinal Library. So I will start off by just introducing the Seaway Horticultural Society. So we're a small but fast-growing community of plant lovers, and we started over a year ago. We have over 50 members now, and we represent everywhere from Prescott to Morrisburg, and then obviously up to Spencerville and Williamsburg. So we are a year into our society, and so now we're looking to do actual projects in the community. We have 4 projects that we're looking at doing in Cardinal alone. We're doing a weeding project in Morrisburg, and we're trying to do some stuff in Prescott. So I am the vice president of the Seaway Horticulture Society. I have a red seal in landscape horticulture that I got from Olds College in Alberta. I've been landscaping and designing landscapes for 9 years now, and I am a resident of Morrisburg. So the primary goals of our society is to build community, and by building community, we want to provide food for not only our residents, but also for the birds and the bees. And that, I think, is something that we can all do really easily, and it's more fun when we come together and do it. So those are the kind of the things that we've come together on the Seaway Horticulture Society. So in looking for projects, we have identified one at the Cardinal Library that we think that would be really good for the community, and it would be a good way for us to kind of demonstrate what we can do and build morale and build up the interest to do more projects in the future. And this is a great location for it because it's right on Highway 2, so people drive by it. It's the local library, so you get people that are going into the library facilities. So I think that this is a great location for it. It's going to get a lot of drive-by interest. So that's part of why we picked this project in particular that we're interested in doing. So the location in particular is this area right here in front of, right behind the stone with the plaques on it. I love rocks, and if I don't have to move them, it's even better. So we already have a rock here that we can build a garden around. So what I what I have drawn up here, it's not in any way set in stone, unlike the stone. But it's just a small, about 250 square foot area, to throw in some pollinator plants. As you can see, there's about 38 plants in there. It's in groups of 3, so we're looking for big blocks of color. It's not gonna just be hodgepodge, things thrown in everywhere. There's habitat for different types of bees and butterflies, including grasses and flowering plants. And we're trying to get a full array of color throughout the season, so you get something in the spring, summer, and fall. And then there's also some grasses which will have some winter interest, as well as the seed heads from the plants over the winter. So trying to get a little bit of everything there. This is just an example. Again, not really done on what our plants are gonna be yet. But I'll go into a little bit more how we're gonna choose those plants a little bit. So here's an example of what that garden could look like. I just threw in a bunch of plants that are either native or very pollinator friendly, just to kind of demonstrate what this could look like. And so, yeah, it's a very small garden. I think it's very doable and very easy for us in our current numbers. So the way we want to do this is we're gonna select native plants and salt-tolerant plants. So sometimes the salt-tolerant plants might not be native. Daylilies are a good example of a non-native salt-tolerant plant. We know that there's salt damage in the grass currently, so we already know that that's something that we're concerned about. So the plants on the borders would be very salt tolerant, and the rest in the middle are going to be more native or very pollinator friendly, if not native. And they're going to be hard hits. I can't stress this enough. These are not going to be plants that die or need to be babied or taken care of. They're going to be things that you can throw on the ground and walk away, and they're gonna thrive in our environment. So for the cost for this, like the plan that I showed is to be at $380. I think that I can be done even cheaper than that. But that's just based on $10 a plant, which is what I know I can source plants from like reliably. And those are 1 gallon pots plants, so they're actually fairly sized plants. The Friends of the Cardinal Library gave us or donated to us $500 for this project. So we have the money to do this. We have the money for the plants. So we'll even have extra money to throw into either the mulch that we would like to put on top after we do it, or potentially just putting more plants into the other beds that are at the library. Our strategy is to cut out the grass in the area. Now, when you see here, you can see I curved the bed to the side, and that's just to make it easier for the mowers. I don't know how you guys do your mowing, if you have contracted out, but I've done a lot of mowing in my life, so I don't like sharp corners, so I try and smooth it out. But we'll cut out that grass and then put the plants in. And then we will, when we're ready to mulch, we'll weed right before we mulch so that we don't have weeds just thrown up right through that mulch that we just laid down. And then finally, our maintenance, really the only maintenance that we're going to be looking at long term is like a spring cleanup, cutting everything down in the spring so that everything else can grow up and doesn't look crummy. And then the occasional weeding, I pull 3 or 4 times a year, not so very times because of the size of the garden. So the timeline for this, granted you guys approve this proposal, we could be looking at getting plants and putting them in the ground by June. And then we would weed and mulch the bed in July. And then we wouldn't really have to do anything until April of the next year, where we would do a cut down, and then from there we would make sure that there's no weeds and it's not getting overgrown, and that the plants that we put in are thriving and being successful. So, in summary, I think that this is a really good opportunity for us to work together in terms of the municipality and the Seaway Horticulture Society. to do something that, adds curb appeal to a public building, right on the side of the road, and also provides habitat for pollinators and can help, get people interested in horticulture and maybe join our society. Anyone else wants to join? But yeah, so, yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Awesome, thanks for the presentation, Kyle. I'll start at this end, Wani.
I think it's a fantastic idea. I hope it goes over because, I mean, we have lots of areas in Cardinal that we could do stuff like this with, so. And it's a great spot to have a location and everything, so I'm all for it for sure. Good presentation, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions if you don't mind listening here. You said you had 4 projects in line with Cardinal. What's
Yes.
the other 3?
So we are currently helping to maintain the Benson Memorial Garden.
Mhm.
We have put in a vegetable garden behind St. Paul's Anglican Church. And then we're also looking at doing another like vegetable garden, raised bed thing at, the old Presbyterian Church, now called Honey Hall.
Mhm.
Yeah. on that note.
Okay, pollinator, getting back to that, obviously it attracts butterflies and bees.
Yes.
My only concern, I love it, like I said, I'm getting a sign,
Yeah.
feed bees, but with that being there, and that being said, with the bees being there and people coming in and then out of the library, I'm really concerned of people with reactions to bee stings. That is my biggest
That's fair.
fear.
My counter to that would be that these pollinator gardens aren't actually supposed to, or they're not. Or,
No,
so,
that's all my concern is.
I
is
totally understand that. there's
somebody
a
coming
balance
in.
there.
has allergies,
Yeah.
and I think it's great too. We have an area down there on 22, number 2 that we just did it. The grass hasn't even started, the little island. I would have thought that'd be a beautiful spot for it,
Okay,
if you know where I'm talking about, on the corner of number 2 and 22.
I do not know
Well, it's a
that.
little island there.
Okay,
That's all, but I'm all for it. That was my biggest concern, is people getting stung, so.
is it in the road, like, it's an island in the road?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's, there's, I mean, Montreal has some really good examples of like boulevard gardens like that, where they're like really.
it'd
really
be great,
tolerant to-
good, lots of people see it, they gotta stop, they gotta go through the Y, be a perfect spot, so.
Okay,
Anyways, that being said, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
I am going to echo what the deputy mayor said. I think everybody at the table was very pro pollinator garden, but we had talked about putting it maybe out back or over by the tracks. It's a huge concern because I have had in-laws that were literally, if they get stung, if they're not getting the antidote in there quickly, they're dead. So there's a lot of kids walking in and out of there. And
That's all I was.
that would be my biggest concern. I love the concept and I just would feel more comfortable if it was around back or over to the side or somewhere, and the bees aren't gonna care.
no, I mean, that's true, the bees do not care, yeah, but so, and the reason for this was actually that it's the curb appeal for the library.
Yeah.
Anywhere, whether you're, whether you have flowers or not. I mean, I've walked down the street, not been anywhere near a garden and had a bee land on me and sting me. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
thing. But, I mean, I like the idea. I think it's, I mean, if the spot's a problem, but I like the idea of having it sort of front and center so that it garners some attention. I think that's part of the reasoning behind it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm either way. I think it's a good idea. It doesn't really matter to me what I believe.
John?
Well, I think it's a good idea, and I work with a lot of flowers and stuff all my life, and really, you don't get stung in a flower bed very often. The bees are busy pollinating, more chance of getting stung is near their hives and stuff than there are near the flowers.
Yeah.
And as I said, you get stung more time walking down the street or on the beach or someplace where there's food and stuff around that you're getting stung by hornets. Rather than getting stung by the bees, and depending on the type of flowers it could be mostly monarch butterflies and one thing and another that are in there pollinating more so than bees, so. I think it's a good idea. The only question I have is, you say you would leave the cut down till spring.
Yeah.
Why would you not cut down in late fall?
So, because,
Because it's right in front of the building, you're gonna have a
Yes.
whole bunch of dead
well,
plants sitting there all winter.
what I will say is that, it actually can look really nice when the snow falls and just sits right on top of the old flower heads, and the birds will actually land on it, and they will eat the seeds out of it. So you're providing food for the birds as well as the bees, because that's the time that they have the least amount of food
That's
over the
cool.
winter. So you get that little benefit as well. Let them
Cool.
snack on that.
No, I don't cut down any of my gardens until the spring, yeah,
Yeah,
because they eat it.
Right.
The birds are in there all winter long,
Yeah, that's true. My wife's same thing.
yeah, chickadees. Okay.
I just got a couple of questions too, Kyle, if that's okay. So the location being the front of the building, it's a busy highway that's, within a pretty close area. Is the amount of traffic, the ongoing volume of traffic any issue? I mean,
Traffic from the road or from pedestrians? I don't think so. That's not my concern actually, if for the traffic would be just the railway, because I don't know how much dust that kicks up. That would be my biggest concern, but again, we're putting really hardy plants in here, so, the expectation is that they should be able to not be too worried about it.
okay, and we don't expect a lot of bee loss to vehicles going by, like,
Be lost, oh,
meaning being a windshield?
yeah, I think, you know what, that's, I couldn't know how much damage that would do. I can see how attracting them there could prevent, or could potentially create an obstacle for them when they're crossing the road if they get hit.
Over it. Just wondering if there was a suggestion for proximity, like a distance back or anything like
Yeah,
that.
no, it wasn't chosen for being farther back from the road than closer to the road.
Okay, just more for aesthetic purpose.
Yeah, well, I'm
Front
taking
building.
advantage of that rock that was there, like, just to give it kind of frame it and give it something so that people can come and look at it, and, you know.
Yeah, no, I think we all want to do our part. So, so this location at the front is preferred over the one that was agreed upon before at the back of the building. Why?
Yeah, so the project for the back is something that we don't really have the ability to do, because it requires pesticides and to till the ground and to plant seed. And then the maintenance, like, we don't really have the capacity to do that yet. So this is a much more small scale project. We're putting already, potted plants in the ground. So it's something that our members are capable of doing. And then maintaining it would be a lot easier on them. They'll identify which plants we put in the ground versus which ones are weeds.
Okay, and that continues on to my next couple of questions. And so one is, maintenance is one of those key words. So what's the ongoing
So,
maintenance?
I have this like a lot for 3 to 4 times a year. We'll come in and weed it and make sure that it looks good. Currently, we are weeding the Morrisburg waterfront, and I think I have done that 4 times a year, and that's just because we need to get it back to a good state, because it's kind of gone in disrepair.
Mhm.
So, there's only so much volunteer time we can get to weed gardens, but it's also, if you can hit it every month for like, June, July, or May, June, July, August, you're not gonna be worried about it. That's the hottest, driest month of the year, so like the weeds are probably not gonna be bad, and then you hit it in September again before you get ready for winter.
I think that so many gardens get started out on such a positive note and a lot of interest, and then as interest wanes, we with places that have to be maintained and have to be cleaned up.
Right, yeah, and I recognize that that's the liability for you guys, right, is that if you get stuck with this, someone has to take care of it, or else you sign it back over.
So back over. Okay, so, and your ask of us, so you're very specific on this so that we understand. I mean, these presentations always come with some form of an ask. So what exactly are you asking us to do?
Permission for us to go ahead and do this project. We're not asking for any financial compensation. I would love to develop a working relationship so we can do more projects in the future together. But right now, like, I think that this is an opportunity that we want to take to demonstrate that we care and we're invested in the community, and then we can go from there and grow outwards from there.
I certainly have seen a lot of, positive comments around the table. It certainly feels like everyone is interested in it. We've certainly all talked about it. We've been wanting to get on with the I always goof up the letters. I want to say WWF, but I know it's not that. But Victoria Woodland was her name. She does the road allowances that aren't currently being used, and they utilize that for pollinator areas as well. We've been trying to connect with that to get it done. We just have never had any success. So starting in small little ones like this intrigues. So delegation and presentation, looking to staff or yes.
Through the mayor too, Kyle, I just wonder if I could just ask one question regarding the maintenance, will there be any water required?
The watering only takes place in the first 2 weeks, and then after that, they should never need water again, except for dire.
In those first 2 weeks, I guess I'm gonna follow on with what you're asking, because I think I get it, is that are we watering or are they watering for those first 2 weeks and in those dire conditions?
We would water. We water daily, we would water our hanging baskets and our flower beds.
Okay.
Twice a week,
So
we could do
we're
that.
comfortable with that small amount of. Okay. Do we need, what do we need? If this is delegation and presentation, we're making them bring this back to council for a resolution, or what are we? What's the deal?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think really what we kind of need is sort of that consensus on the go ahead. It really was about process, getting that permission before something proceeded. So if there's general consensus with the concept, the size, and what what's being proposed, then we can proceed with getting something rolling in that regard.
I think I certainly heard that around the table. I did hear a couple of people express concerns about stings and allergies. I do think that that's a concern. Moving forward, I know for me, it's let's give it a try. If it's an issue, then let's figure out how to remedy the issue. But I'm not sure that that's quite the most responsible way to view it either. So, I mean, if you have anaphylactic shock, saying we'll review it after it's happened to you is probably a positive way to look at it. So, is there a balance somewhere?
Well, I think that it really comes down with the comfort level of committee with respect to that risk on whether it's deemed to be a low risk versus moderate risk with respect to that location, and whether there needs to be some adjustment to that location. I'm not hearing, I'm hearing it raised, but I'm not necessarily sure I'm hearing it to a point where there isn't the will to have it in that location. But maybe that's something that can be discussed amongst the committee a little bit farther to get that sense. I think if there is hesitation, then I would suggest that we return at council for something more formal.
Okay, I'll say this first before we go into that. Is there a second entry point to the library, or will every single person that enters the library have to go past that area?
I would say, other than those utilizing the food bank on Wednesday, it will be either of those two walkways.
Right.
I would say probably 95 to 98% of the users will generate or passing by that.
Yeah, so they don't utilize the second, the rear entry.
That's only for, you usually utilized on Wednesdays during the food bank.
All right, so then let's narrow this a little bit. Is there further discussion on location? Does anyone want to see it go to the back to alleviate the concerns that have been raised about the potential issues in the front? Counselor Small.
Just to let you know, most people that are allergic to bees carry an EpiPen. I have a son that's really bad. He only has like maybe 5 minutes and his throat closes. Most of them that I've known quite a few that have that already, carry 2 of them with them all the time. So if you're a reliable parent, your son or daughter is going to have it on them. And like whatever somebody said, they usually don't sting you unless you agitate them. And everybody that is allergic to bees, there's certain ones they aren't allergic to, and they get stung 100 times on a bottle. Most of the people that I know that are allergic to them is the yellow jackets. And but like I'm not saying everybody carries an EpiPen, but if you've got a bad allergy, I think the old mother and father will let you make sure you have it.
So you're good with the location then?
I'm good with location, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, oh, that's okay. I understand.
I'm fine after John. Yes, I'm fine with the bees, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go with the table.
I'm good with
I see nodding.
I'm fine.
You're fine with it, I'm fine. So, all right, so location's good. I don't think we need to go. I think. Yeah. So
Do we need a motion?
What I'm
Doesn't matter.
hearing is that permission is granted and we will proceed to coordinate that activity.
yes, you don't need anything from council at this point. We can.
I think there'll be enough included within the minutes that should be satisfactory.
For the month?
No, let's start right away. Yeah, go ahead.
Through you to the CAO, while we're talking about this, could we also maybe give Kyle a little more definition on that spot up the street we were talking about on the corner of there where you went?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna be driving through, so I'll keep my eye out.
Yeah, take a look.
Yeah,
Because if it's a boulevard type thing, like there's already like outlines of how to do this properly and.
it's like a mini off ramp.
Yeah.
There's a little triangle.
It's a triangle.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a great location to run some plans and get a list of
Then we
plans.
don't have to.
And there's a stop sign right there. You stop and you're looking at it, would be ideal.
I wanna say,
Yeah, that's good. Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, I think.
Thank you
Yes,
very much.
thank you.
Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's an addition, that we'll certainly touch base, but that's an additional ask outside of what.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
No, I
100%.
just.
Start with this one and then.
thanks very much.
Very much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's it?
All right. Is there a list of movers and seconders?
No, there's nothing like
Cut grass.
Okay. So I still have to ask for one or do they have them already?
And
Not, it's only a council, we have the motion.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask for a mover and a seconder then for this, okay. So we're on the consent agenda items, items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and no longer require further discussion or enacted in one motion. The exception to this rule is that a member may request that one or more items be pulled for discussion and voted on separately. The recommendation is that the following consent agenda items be received and presented, which is A, which is the first quarter fire report, see item 8B. And it continues on, yes. C or 7, right? Does it include 7? Rebecca? No, just those two. Okay. All right, does anyone want,
I'd love to move that.
before you move it, can I see if anybody wants anything pulled?
Okay, I guess.
Does anyone want, from that to further discuss? Or hearing none, then moved by Councillor Joe Martell, seconded by Councillor Waters Mayo. discussion, I'll call the question, all in favor? Okay, so moved on, carried. So then we are now on 7A, correct? Which is discussion items, South Grenville Chamber of Commerce, use of the Cardinal Waterfront Park and Pavilion, and let's see, anyone here to speak to it? Is there anyone?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, with respect to the Chamber of Commerce, is not anybody here to speak on that particular item.
Okay, having read it, does staff want to comment on it before we have a discussion? Or do you want us to have a discussion first?
Certainly, Mr. Chair, I can give a little bit of framework around that. Certainly, as far as the overall concept goes, certainly no opposition. Concept, however, with that said, that our current municipal alcohol policy, that area in the waterfront and pavilion area is not one that would be able to be licensed for alcohol as the current policy reads. So I think that's the challenge. I think with that said, there's always I suppose there is always an opportunity from a council perspective to look at making an exception. I just obviously from a staff perspective, I'm going to say I would caution council in that regard, but otherwise I think I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair, for a discussion and conversation on that around the table.
Yeah, sure. And before we go there, I will say that in reading this, I like the initiative. I think it's a good use of the pavilion. Certainly recognize that use ourselves several years ago when we got married underneath that very same pavilion and found ourselves not able to get a liquor license either. But our alternative was the Legion, and the Legion has a fantastic deck area, patio area, not very far away, and we certainly were very respectful of utilizing that outdoor area as well as the inside area. And the Legion was extremely hospitable to having us there, and I'm not sure if Kevin's interested in hosting there, but it certainly was able to take care of us very well when we utilized it, and we still got to do a nice ceremony under the pavilion. So having said that, discussion.
I think it's a great idea, but quite sure what's gonna happen with the liquor license, but I like it. I think it's a great idea.
So you'd like to see them try or allow one?
If they can, yeah.
Steve?
No, I'm all for it, and I think this is 2024, we have a bylaw, 2014, 10 years old. Things have changed. The provincial government came out in 2019 actually and proposed to give the municipalities more room for permit drinking in the public spaces. They encourage it in their 2019 budget. As far as maybe looking at, I'm not, to go out and say, well, we're changing the bylaw tonight. No, I think we should go back and look at it very seriously at a different time. But I think we should give the South Grenville Chambers exempt from this bylaw for this time and let them move on and doing their thing, because I think it's going to be just a hoot, and I think it's going to attract a lot of people.
I know.
Nothing but positive.
I know in the last term,
So-
Mayor Pat was certainly supportive of the good things that Eric Duncan did. I think it was out in Winchester. Certainly wanted to relook at that and having a couple of, I think it was even, street parties instead. I know.
And that's what it is.
We talked about it, but we
Similar,
never
only
got
other
it.
way.
Right. Yeah, we never got anywhere.
I think it's great to and let them perform and come back to the 2014 budget. Dave?
Yeah, 2014, right?
Yeah, so 24. I do believe, is that right, Mr. CEO?
I believe that is roughly the year. I'm sorry, I don't have that bylaw.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I believe it is. In and around that time frame.
I think it's a fantastic idea. I think there's an appetite for it in town. I've spoken with people that have suggested doing something very similar. I think this would be an excellent opportunity to try it and see how it goes. And I'm in agreement with the deputy mayor. Let's not go crazy and change the bylaw next week. Let's check it out, see how it goes, and then go from there.
Exemption status, yeah.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I don't think there's,
Much else to say?
I'll be the opposite to it. I don't think it should be licensed. You got a Legion, as you said yourself, you use it, that's 50 feet away from it. They rely on their bar to raise funds to help support it. I don't think we should be bringing other groups in to have a license and run events. And they say they want to do it before every long weekend. There's a lot of events in Cardinal that take place on the long weekends that people are there setting up on Thursdays and stuff for Fridays, like.
Only one per township. This would be June, July would be Augusta, August would be Prescott.
And you got your fishing derby coming in there too.
Yeah.
that-
That's why I think it's great, the more the merrier. And it's not taking anything from, I think it'll help the Legion, because you're gonna bring people there, nice day, they go out on the porch. That's why I don't think it's gonna hurt Legion at all, I think it's gonna help them. That's the way I look at it. I mean-
Pay tickets to come to go to another bar, I don't think so.
Voices heard. Certainly the support. So where do we find ourselves then? I'll look to the clerk or look to Dave. It's a discussion item. The discussion's pretty clear that the commission is in favor of moving forward with an exemption. And a potential relook at that actual bylaw. I think I heard enough of that too, so.
Through the chair, you can make a motion this evening, that'll be brought to council to make that one-time exemption until the bylaw is further reviewed.
Okay, so I need,
So move.
so moved. Second. And so that takes care of, we haven't voted yet, but that takes care of the first part of it. But is there a will to want to relook at the bylaw again? Would that all go in the same motion, or you want that as a separate motion?
Through the chair, it can be in the same motion, that's something that staff would have to review and do some best practice and then we can bring it forward.
If it goes in as a same motion, would it all come back at the same time, or could the exemption be dealt with
The
first?
exemption would be dealt with separately at the end of this month and then, draft bylaw would be coming forward in future.
Okay, so do you want to add in then a review of the bylaw to your motion?
Not in this motion, no, I just wanted the sub-criminal chambers is exempt. And then we will bring in another motion to look at the bylaw in 2014, right? Or can we do it all at once?
Yeah.
Through the chair, you can do it separately, you can do it all at once. There's direction here, so staff has that noted that. we'll be
Okay,
doing
let's do it all at once, you don't have to come back, though, is there gonna be a date? So
Should be able to separate the two of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, so yeah, I'll put it all in one motion.
Yeah.
That we exempt, so.
Okay.
So
and then
criminal
just
chambers,
also second
we'll look
that.
at the 2014.
Okay, so further discussion?
No, I need.
You're excused. Well, wait till you vote and then be excused. There's further discussion of this? No? Okay, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? We're good. Go.
Thank you.
Okay, so item C, daytime fire response. I think that's where we're at, correct? We skipped A and B were mentioned, right? So we go to item C, which is daytime fire response. Chief, will you speak to that one? Okay, you're on.
Sure. This information item is just intended to bring a situation that occurred to committee's attention.
Yeah.
Starting from the top, we're all aware of the struggles with volunteer firefighters. Sources say between 2016 and 23, Canada lost up to 30,000 firefighters, most of them volunteers. Obviously, we have not been immune to that. We have experienced some turnover. We've also had some successful recruitments, and we've got a reasonable number of personnel. Unfortunately, more and more of our residents and firefighters are employed outside of the township. So the incident referring to was late in March. Station 1 was dispatched to assist the EMS. And on this particular morning, there were no personnel available from the station to respond. So after several minutes with no response, the other station was dispatched and responded. So the absence of available personnel combined with the travel distance from the other station resulted in a response time of approximately 30 minutes, which we can't get around travel distance, but it's certainly not the level of service that we're looking to provide. We are accustomed to being short-staffed during the daytime, but this is the first time we were ever unable to send an apparatus from the applicable. That we have that both work and are able to leave their jobs within the township. So it's a little more than 25%, or around 11 personnel. The red, they work in the township, but they are not available to leave work during the day. The green section is they work roughly an hour away, so that's going to be our folks that work basically in Ottawa. And then the large portion of the 17 members in the purple, so that would be people that work roughly 20 to 30 minutes away. So that's going to be our Countville, Brockville type crew. So for minor single station responses, it's generally not practical for those people that are 20 minutes away to respond. The incidents are generally done before they get here, so it just doesn't make a lot of sense. In the event of a large incident, such as a structure fire, both stations are dispatched simultaneously, and those people that are in that kind of 30-minute window, even the 1 hour window, if they're available to leave work, they will, because they know there's a good chance they'll actually there'll be something to do when they follow their ride. Mutual aid is also available for those times when our resources cannot match the incident, but it's not really a long-term solution for a deficiency in staffing. So I'm not saying we have a long-term deficiency, but we just can't call our neighbors every time if we get to that point. The bottom line, I guess, is I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and it will be addressed a little more thoroughly in our community risk assessment coming up in the next few months.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. Questions for the chief at all? Anyone?
Joe, through yourself to the chief, do they know why there's such a drop in volunteer fire department people? And is like the national association doing anything to try to at it? Are you making any headway there?
Through the chair, I think it's our changing culture. People are generally volunteering less. The demands have increased significantly as well. I think we're healthy as far as that situation where, a lot of our members just aren't immediately.
I think we've got a pretty strong volunteer fire department, and from what I can see, looking over all the responses and stuff, for the actual, what the fire department designed for in the first place for fires, we always have good response for them. I haven't ever heard of a time the fire department didn't show up in pretty speedy time, sometimes faster than what ones that are full-time firefighters show up in places. So I think our problem is that EMS is putting, there's more of our calls are medical calls. In my opinion, the fire department is never designed to do in the first place. That is being downloaded because EMS is putting less and less staff available in the field. I think EMS needs to step up their game, that there's better response on ambulance and stuff. The province needs to put more money into this and not be relying on all our volunteer fire departments to be the first ones on scene for all these calls. I know talking to some of the firefighters, some of the EMS calls are the most stressful calls that any of them go to during their career, far more so than the fires that they will go to. So I think we're in a good position. I think this was one EMS call that we didn't have to dispatch other stations to, but I really think council should be pressing the EMS. They need to get more people in the field and not be relying, because this is it, not just in Edgeburg Cardinal. I hear this from every fire department around, but the majority of their calls are getting more and more EMS calls that should be taken, that they're taking. So
No, well, our retirement guys that we had to put out to pasture, we might say, because he turned 65, we'd be nice to have them because they're the 5 that I know of in Station 1 that's always around. And then always boom, boom, boom. We can't do anything about it. What, do the chair to the chief, what is your plans to rectify this, if any?
Well, through the chair, we're gonna continue to recruit and focus on people that do have daytime availability. I don't think this is a bad news story because our systems work the way they're supposed to work, right? We're lucky enough now we have an app, and within 2 minutes we know there's nobody coming. So we're able to take that next step instead of waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Then I think that's all we can do, is just continue to improve.
Good.
Yeah.
Just have one question. One question to the chair, to Brian, the chief. Have you ever considered approaching the employees of the township? Because we have quite a few young people working there now. Like for daytime, I mean, they'd be available, but not too many jobs. I was there 30-some years. Can't wait till you get back from a fire. But I mean, it's just an idea. I don't know.
Through the chair, that's been kicked around in the past.
Anyone else? No? Good. Thanks for the update, Chief. All right, so we are on to item D, which is 2023 year-end township surplus. Right. President would like to speak to this.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. If we haven't had enough of numbers and accounting, this will definitely put you over the limit. So as the delegation mentioned, we do have a surplus of $97,951. Come back to committee and with some ideas on where this reserve should go. So what I've included in here is just public works and recreation. Those are the two reserves that have been kind of leaned on. Well, public works has been building, but with recreation, we've leaned on that a fair bit in the last couple of years, just to fund things rather than go through taxation. As you can see, the 2024 opening balance for recreation is 209,000. Public Works is 613,000. We still have some budgeted transfers in, 15,000 for rec and 100,000 for Public Works. And then the 102,000 is coming out of recreation, I think largely for the lights. Then we have the estimated closing balance of 121,000. The transfer out for Public Works is actually the truck from last budget that was approved and delivered in 2024. We put that into reserves in 2023 to pull it out for this purpose. So the lower limit for Public Works is 484,000, but in 2025 we'll some more contributions to reserves. Another option would be to leave it where the auditors left it, was in the dedicated, or sorry, in the working funds reserve. Account, we could just put it to the dedicated capital reserve fund, account 30983819, to use for 2025 capital projects. So the three preferential options are number one, to allocate $70,000 to the recreation reserve, account number 01-3527, and the balance of $27,951 to the Public Works reserve, account number 01-3520. Second option would be to allocate $97,951.51 to the working funds reserve, account 01-3540, or number three, to allocate the 97,000 to the dedicated capital reserve, account 98-3819. As far as policy implication, in prior years, the tax rate bylaw directed any surplus deficit from township operations would be transferred to capital expenditures. Council has the option to direct funds to and from reserves to mitigate any future economic fluctuations and unanticipated events and contingent liabilities. Financial considerations, I did attach the Q1 2024 reserves. So you'll see the 178,574, those year-end adjustments for the water and wastewater systems have already been. And we have the 97,000 left allocate. One GIC that matured, and we put 1.25 million back in. Allocated 585,000 to the Industrial Park Land Reserve. We also have the Cardinal wastewater that was related to the IO debenture that we had to do a temporary borrowing from reserve, and that just got put back in. So again, further to any other discussion, the recommendation would be that committee recommend that council approve option one and direct the treasurer to allocate $70,000 for the 2023 surplus to the recreation reserve, account 01-3527, and $27,951.51 of the 2023 surplus to the Public Works reserve, account 01-3520.
Treasure. To the CAO, as per policy, the council must direct staff to allocate surplus or deficit once the audit is complete, statements are issued. In my last several years, I know we buried a little bit, but it typically goes into winter control, or it has gone into winter control. I just, before we start this discussion, am I right in thinking that wrong? Thinking that?
Mr. Chair, typically, is divided with the next 5 to 10. years, as an option. We have in the past, following, a pretty severe winter that dropped that, winter control reserve, down. We did utilize the surplus to actually the following year's surplus to actually build up that winter control reserve fund. But I would say, as the treasurer has noted, with the recommendation that he's putting forward, I think that's a solid recommendation to allocate the money towards that future capital in both the recreation and public works.
Thank you for that. Before we begin, all right, then questions, comments for the treasurer? Looking for hands. On this side. That side, okay, so we do have to pick a 1, 2, or 3, or there's a recommendation. That is, there's 3 different ones, but there is one that's outlined, so. Comments, then I'd like somebody to pick something and move it then.
I would like to move.
Okay, and the recommendation as it's written,
As
that
it's
committee recommend that council approve option 1 to direct the treasurer to allocate 70,000 of the 2023 surplus to the recreation reserve account 1, 3527 and 27,951.51 of the 2023 surplus to the public works reserve account 1, 3520.
Get the words right out of my mouth.
Good. All right, so you need a second for those. Sorry. Okay, is there further discussion on how this reserve is being allocated? Hearing none. All right, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Of course. Good. I think anytime at the end of the year that we've, you know, I mean, I certainly would rather this be a you know, surplus versus deficit, obviously. I love when budgets come out to 0, meaning we budgeted out and everything comes out the way that it built our reserves, the way that we should through taxation and all that. I hope that this works out to be what, about a 1.25%, equal to about 1.25% that we're tapping away extra for reserves off what we budgeted last year. I know it's due to savings over the year, but it's still getting used in a positive way, but still 1.25 more than we thought we needed last year. Good news story, but well done. And that's in there. There was a well done. Yeah. Okay. Spence. Oh no. Can we skip this one? I'm just kidding. Couldn't have put this one in consent agenda. 2024 PSAB budget addendum, and are you going to speak to that one as well?
Speak to this again too.
Wow.
So
Let's
maybe this will resonate, thank you, Chair. Maybe this will resonate a little bit better since we just went through the financial statements, and this is basically doing the 2024 budget addendum that's required under PSAB. So background on this: Ontario Regulation 284/09 allows municipalities to consider to prepare their annual budgets without including amortization expenses for tangible capital assets. The regulation requires municipalities to prepare a PSAB budget addendum report and adopt this report by resolution. So again, just the highlights from the PSAB budget. Some of the things that are included in this is principal paid on debt, transfer to reserve accounts, transfers from reserve accounts, and intangible capital asset acquisitions and costs. Under PSAB reporting, the principal payments on long-term debt are not expense, but they're treated as a reduction in the long-term liability, which increases the accumulated surplus, in this case by $257,970. For reserve-related adjustments under the PSAB method, contributions to reserves are not considered an expense, and contributions from reserves are not considered revenue. So the reconciliation estimates that when the change in accumulated surplus of the township portion to be $1,246,148 when the PSAB amounts are included in the year-end audited statements, And the attached report outlines the estimated changes made to convert the balanced 2024 consolidated budget, which shows an increase of the township's consolidated, which includes RSL and the port, accumulated surplus of $5,976,154. So financial considerations, there is no financial impact to this. It's merely just a requirement that we do a PSAB budget addendum. So what I will do is walk through the addendum itself. So on the next page, just for the budget summaries for the township, that's $7,708,585. That's what we approved or what council approved for the township budget. And then you have the individual water and wastewater budgets, and as well the library budget. All of those revenue and expenses were approved with a surplus deficit of 0. And then here's where the adjustments come back in. So the 2.2 million in transfers from reserves gets added in, and then we take off the acquisition of capital assets. So that $4.5 million was our capital budget for 2024. And then we take off any transfers to reserves, and then any payments on long-term debt. So we get a subtotal of $2,992,180. And then we have to add our amortization expenses as well. So that's where we get that township budget adjustment of $1,246,148. And then we have an estimated equity adjustment of $27,000 for Rideau St. Lawrence. And then from the 2024 Port of Johnstown budget, their surplus was projected at $4.7 million. So that's where we get to $5,172,154. So if we go back to the financial statements, when we saw that the accumulated surplus was just under 97 or $98 million, we would expect next year when we have the same meeting with the auditors that it would be $104 million, basically. So where you saw we went from just under $91 million to $98 million, we would go from $98 million, add another $6 million to go to, and that's how it will just layer year over year. And I didn't mention this, I meant to actually, sorry, I guess I'll read the recommendation first. So the recommendation is that committee recommends that council adopt the 2024 PSAB budget addendum report, which meets the requirements of regulation 284/09.
Thank you.
And just one thing I actually meant to mention this actually in the last item. But we have hired a new treasurer. So her name is Nancy Crawford. She'll be starting with us on June 3rd. So it's the last time you will hear me present this report.
Jess gets to Ms. Crawford gets to juggle the PSAB glazed over council.
Yeah, I noticed you removed your tie and.
No, I
always
had two great big enormous stains on it that I just noticed that I spilled my coffee, so.
Again, Mr. Mayor, I'll carry some along with this.
Keep another there for me, would you? So we'll have to say further discussion before I call the question. Is there anyone who wants to weigh in on the PSAB addendum? Anyone? Going on scoring twice? No, not even John, eh? All right, can't tempt him. I thought I might be able to tempt him. All right, so moved in question on adoption. All in favor? Oh, hold on. Was it not both of you?
I agree.
Oh, I thought you said second.
I did.
You did say second.
Our apologies, we didn't catch that one.
Oh, I thought, yeah, I did. I thought so anyway. Okay, so moved in second, and then I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay. Chris, please tell me Chris isn't online. It's been an hour and a half if he has been, and I haven't recognized him. Sorry, Chris.
Is he online? Good.
No, no, he's not.
Oh.
That'd be terrible, or 80 pages through. All right, Aaron, I think you're probably up next. I believe, for item F, which is Spencerville Pumping Station #1 upgrades.
Yes, indeed, thank you.
Welcome to committee. Nice.
Thank you very much. First one for me, so,
Yeah, glad to have you.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So the first one to receive the to complete the engineering design work for Spencerville Pump Station 1 upgrade. The background of this pump station is it's our main pump station that collects all the sewage from Spencerville, pumps it to the lagoons. We've been having constant repairs done on it. It's been a problem in the past, and things are getting worse. The pipe work is starting to degrade, and further work on it is just accelerates the issues now. We've been replacing pumps on average almost one a year. They're a Myers style. It's a Myers pump. Obviously being replaced due to wear and plugging. As they plug up more, it actually compounds the issue. It makes it plug up even more constantly. We're pulling these pumps sometimes weekly. This project was scheduled for 26. However, due to the frequency of repairs, we are requesting approval to expedite the engineering phase to this year and project completion in 2025. Summary table below. Comparison to our Henry Street pump station that runs a flight pump in Cardinal. All of Cardinal pump stations run flight pumps. It's just a different style, pump, much more robust, and on all those pumps, we've never had to pull them for just general clogging. If we pull the pump in Cardinal, it's because the windings of the motor has died because it's been running for 20 years. So we've got one pump to do at Henry Street Station. We've done 9 pumps in Spencerville. You can see estimated labor costs there, $20,000. So we $61,000. We've kind of estimated, very rough estimates of costs there compared to the one basically install, and forget it with the flight pumps. They never cause us any issues whatsoever. So that's the background of that. It's the Myers, in speaking with other electricians, we have an electrician, and also speaking with our current engineer that we have on Spencerville Valley, say the Myers pump is not a municipal style, it's more of a residential style pump, so they are smaller, kind of not meant for this setting. So the project, the added horsepower, or sorry, excuse me, the flight pump panel is in operation. Flight pumps have proven to be reliable. Replacing the Myers pump will reduce operating and repair costs, likelihood of sanitary overflows, and the frequency of combined space entry. Also, the flight pumps have an added horsepower, so that should allow for greater flow and potential capacity at the station, allowing for for future growth as well, which is, I know, something that Spencerville would like to see. Phase 1 of this project requires consultation with a qualified consulting firm for replacement of the flight pump system to conform and meet the pumping requirements of the station. Consultation will be beneficial in evaluating to ensure the sanitary force main is capable of handling an increased horsepower of 5 to 7.5 horsepower. Assess if mechanical electrical alterations are required during installations, and assess and redesign the grading system down below in the well to allow both pumps to be pulled safely without confined space entry. Phase 1 of the project will ensure the full scope of the project is understood, verify design requirements, and provide cost estimates to complete the work. We're hoping to get EVB Engineering to retained, as they are currently working on our Loon ECA amendments. So they have a lot of familiarity with the system already. We recommend EVB at an upset limit of 30,000. EVB Engineering with extensive knowledge of the central system. That's phase one for our engineering phase. This is prior to phase two, which would be the construction phase, but completing phase one of this project will ensure readiness for 2025. Subject to council approval, the contract administrator could issue the tender in January. This would ensure contract was awarded, pumps and panel ordered, received in time for completion summer 2025. Contract administration services in phase two would include administrating, overseeing tendering process, provide a recommendation for contract awarding, ensure project is meeting targeted deadlines, ensure installation is following design requirements, and provide. Also reached out to our sales rep at Xylem, who provides the and recommended that it's best to get consultation instead of just throw the pumps in and hope for the best. So yeah, so the bylaw establishes policies with respect to procurement of goods. It states all expenditures shall be within the current school budget. Otherwise, prior approval of council is required. Addition expenditures 75,000. Scope of this project is to complete phase one in 2024 this year and ensure project readiness for 2025. The wastewater reserve fund, Spencerville, currently has a balance of $403,314.58. A recommendation that committee recommends that council approve phase one work with Spencerville Pump Station upgrade and direct staff to consult with EVB to complete phase one of this project to an offset limit of $30,000 utilizing the wastewater reserve fund phase one.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Well done, well done, well done, well done. It's different having somebody other than Eric here. You did a fantastic job. So, questions for Aaron on pump station one?
Through the chair to Aaron, I just have a couple questions. How long have you had the Myers pumps in there?
Station went in '89.
And since '89, you've had them plugging all the time and nobody decided that maybe we should switch pumps?
Well, the project, since I've been here, it's been in the capital plan. I know in 2018, that's when I first heard of our first quote to upgrade this, the upgrade with Eric and Gord. So prior to 2018, I'm not sure how much it was looked into, but since then it's really kind of getting worse, you know. So we're really in that now. It's as I said before, there's the base plate is starting to pit and it's blowing washers out actually. So this is why we're actually.
Okay, one other question I have for you, Aaron, is will it reduce the amount of pumps? Like you have 9 Myers pumps now. We buy Flight, will it reduce the amount?
We have the 2 Myers pumps and then we've replaced, and then every time we replace one, we order another one. So we always have one on standby backup. So it would certainly reduce, yeah, because if we compare it to Cardinal on the Flight pumps, we've only bought, a lot of them are running original pumps. Some of them maybe 1 or 2 have been replaced per station at most.
Do the chair, Aaron, special pump to station 1, Drummond's?
That's right.
I was gonna say, I thought you guys were working for Drummond's, you were there so many times, yeah, in the last month or 2, yeah, I understand that. That's where the Myers pump is, that's what.
That's yes.
Now, how many stations do we have, pumping stations in Spencerville?
Spencerville, there's 3.
3?
2 of them feed into number 1, the Drummond one.
Are they All three Myers? So what would you do? Station one first? Is that your goal?
We
Is
want
that to make?
station one first, that's the priority, that takes all the flow, most of the flow. We can't, it's pretty gross what we do for pump station 2 and 3, but we actually have accreted basket screens.
Right,
We have to pull and empty the baskets a couple times a week when we're there. And if we don't do that, we run into the same issues. With those are smaller pumps, but there's still Myers, we'll be pulling them weekly as well. So
on 2 and 3.
we don't have the ability to do that at pump station 1 because it's so deep and takes on so much flow. And we wouldn't want to be there.
So do we need the same horsepower of 7.5 to 7.5 in station 2 and 3 as we do 1? Well, we need to,
Pumps,
Right.
I would say, I have to double check, but I believe those are 2 horsepower, so they would be smaller.
but the
They
Myers,
actually, that would be, we have similar ones for, Highway 2 and Flat Street in Cardinal.
Mhm.
The horsepower, I believe, there is 2, and there may be opportunity, if we do pump station 2 or 3 in the future, there may be opportunity to have all those pumps interchangeable of that style of horsepower, so you'd only be buying one backup for Highway 2, Flat Street, Spencerville Pump Station 2, Spencerville Pump Station.
right,
3.
so 2 and 3 are Myers, gonna
Yeah.
keep Myers, so they're all,
They're all
1, 2,
Myers.
and the one on Fletch Street is the Myers too, is
Oh,
that?
that's a flight. I was just, just comparing if we were to have to do 2 and 3, then we
Right.
would have basically one flight on.
I get it, okay.
But yeah.
So the one, no, station 1, we gotta do something.
Yeah, it's becoming a critical problem, yeah. We're pulling it weekly. And now the pipe work is actually.
Okay.
And just, I was very shocked to see, we pulled a list from our supplier of how many pumps we bought in the past. And it was nine pumps since 2015, so that was.
Since when?
Since 2015, we bought 9, so that's almost on average.
Thank you.
They're
Mike.
$9,700 pump. 400 from our Myers guy, but. Flight pumps are 20,000, but you're probably once.
Thank you.
You're on good, thank you.
Sounds like it needs to be done to me.
Well, it's gotta be done, those Myers pumps. Council sold the bill of goods when we put them in. They have never stood up from the time they were in there, it's been problems. Now, mind you, a lot of the problems we have with them is people flushing stuff down the toilets, and if it was just sewage, they probably would stand up, but we're getting a lot of things that, glass sewage, so. That's what the problem is, so I guess the flat pumps take it a little.
Yeah, the flight pumps have a different style. It's an open volute, recessed impeller. They want nothing to get stuck in, where the Myers is like a cylinder and it sits against the wear ring. That's a little bit catching warm.
My only question is, and especially in hearing, you're talking about. The constant breakdown and, once a month, I think you said you're pulling it.
Easily, yeah.
So the recommendation isn't to have it up and going until the summer of 2025 and stuff like that. Would we not want to get, is this not something that we might want to move on a little quicker?
I'm still getting used to this whole process and whatnot, but I mentioned to Eric, as if this approval that I want to keep moving, I don't want to wait till January budget to get approval again for that, and then put out a tender in January and whatnot. If the sooner we can get moving on this, I would push to keep going, yeah.
Yeah, I think, at least from the way that I've always thought, sitting up here, I mean, there are things that wait, things that don't. Water and sewer are 2 things for me that don't wait, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you absolutely. That recommendation was in there just as I guess just to get the ball rolling, kind of, but, I would certainly, if we're clear to go, we have, and then EVP does their thing, and I would, talk to Eric and then Dave and then to get it, instead of having a wait the January budget time.
Right.
You don't have to, that would be ideal.
Yeah. Okay, CAO, did you want to add or?
Yeah, maybe just through the chair, I think what we certainly don't want to do is rush too quick and be missing a few areas, because we are talking about changing an entire system, so we want to make sure that compatibility is going to be there, and I think once we achieve that and then have that comfort level, depending on what the time frame is, whether that's 2 months from now or whether that's 6 months from now. Once we have that comfort level and those cost estimates, then we'll bring something, we'll likely bring something forward for pre-budget approval in 2025 and get rolling as soon as possible. But what I don't want to do is see us act too fast and be missing some certain components where once again, we're into bigger problems because we didn't actually do all of the needed engineering work in advance to make sure that we've got bases covered.
Do you want to add something, John? You good? Yeah, no, I was wondering if John, I just got the feeling you wanted to add something.
go ahead, but we don't wanna
Yeah.
miss something. I don't wanna put a bigger pump in and end up busting line or something.
Yes, yeah, sure.
Just to the chair there, how long has this been going on? Like how serious, like pulling these pumps and all?
It's, as I mentioned, the pitting of the pipe work and it is creating more of an issue now. It's happening more frequently this last 6 months. We've been blowing O-rings out of it and whatnot, and that's causing a lot of amperage problems. It's actually causing electrical problems too. We've had a lot of electrical issues in the panel. But ever since I've started, we've been the pumps have been tripping up there at least once a month.
So then, question I have for you then is, if you've known it's been going on this long, why hasn't the head of the environmental services checked it out and seen what needs to be done
Yeah,
instead of starting it now?
yeah,
I kind of
sure.
So I think through the chair, when we're talking about replacing a pump that is $4,000 or $5,000, like once a year or every 18 months, versus potentially looking at a project that could be upwards of 250,000, and you've got a very small user base that has to cover that cost. We've been limping through. It's not the best process, but what we're finding now within this last 6-month period is that what we've been doing in the past just isn't going to be sustainable for much longer, and we've got to go. We've got to make that bigger. That's in essence what we feel like it comes down to.
Yeah, thank you, David.
Ultimately, we have money in the reserves though that would offset it. We'd just be trying to build those reserves back up.
Through the chair, yeah, it would be a fairly substantial hit to the reserves with some of the other projects that we have underway with the Spencerville system, such as the replacement of the mag meter, the splitter box, a couple of those other items that are coming out of that reserve. So that reserve is going to deplete, reasonable. And we still have some other projects that'll be in the longer range that will be fairly costly.
That's something, seems like it's certainly something that needs to be done. So the recommendation will get what it needs to get phase one up and running, and it'll get it up and running as soon as possible. And then we'll see something back that'll lead us towards phase.
Correct.
All right, so let's get this recommendation moving then. Recommendation reads that committee recommends that council approve phase one work for the Spencerville Pumping Station #1 upgrades, and 2, direct staff to consult with EDB Engineering to complete phase one of this project to an upset limit of $30,000, and 3, utilize the Spencerville Wastewater Reserve Fund to fund phase one of this project. Councilor Smale, seconder. Councilor Martel, further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Good.
Very much.
Thanks again, Aaron. Yeah, well done.
Excuse myself.
Absolutely. All right, I believe we can that he has entered the room. I can't read what it says on the screen. Your internet connection is unstable, so you have some connection issues, Chris, but we'll welcome you to the meeting. If we have the ability for you to contribute, we'll have you on there.
That sounds great. You guys are coming in nice and clear, so I don't know, but anyways, no problem.
Good. If you become an issue, we'll mute you.
I've already did that.
Just kidding. Just kidding. All right, so we are on to item 8G, which is the endorsement and appointment of to Source Protection Committee. And who might we be speaking? Clerk?
Concerned to speak for this.
Okay.
Thank you through the chair. This is more of a routine report, that comes and goes every decade or so, every day. Right now, the Raising South Nation Source Protection Committee. It covers all of Leeds and Grenville as well as other areas in the jurisdiction, but it currently has a vacancy. We haven't had to address this for almost 3 terms. But with this vacancy, the source water protection manager, Mr. Symington, does the recruiting. A lot of times it's from within or from other sources that we've dealt with in the past. Sometimes SNC, they kind of flip-flop in between the two. So Mr. Symington has done the legwork on this, and he is looking just for us to fill the vacancy through an endorsement of appointment to Mr. Glenn Mackey. On the committee in the past, resigned to sit on the SNC board of directors. Now he's looking to get back on the Source Protection Committee since he does have previous experience. And the SPC has given that he is the best candidate for this. For the recommendation that council endorsement Mr. Glenn Mackey for the RSNCSP.
All right. Yes, so recommendation there. You've heard the background. Thank you, clerk. Sorry. Heard the background information, comments or suggestions from committee.
With all the respect for Mr. Mackey, he's been on many different committees over the years, especially in Augusta Township. I know him well, so he's on the nation now. So
Chris, anything?
Okay, he's good.
No objections, no.
Good. All right, so the recommendation reads that committee recommends the council endorse and appoint Glenn Mackey as Leeds Grenville representative to the Raising South Nation Source Protection Committee. Can I have a mover?
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by
Second.
Councillor Waters. I'm sorry. I will call the question then. All in favor? Unanimous. And welcome.
Oh, it's something happened to him. He got his hand up.
Welcome, Mr. Mackey.
Yeah, say goodbye. Okay.
Okay, so we are on to the refreshment vehicle policy update. And who is speaking to the policy update? Is it clerk again?
Yes, thank you. So review of this policy staff has identified that, we need to do some updating. It's a older policy, we're looking to increase the fees to cover administrative licensing factor and complete the overall policy review. Draft policy is attached, just to highlight some of the new draft has included the newer definitions to better suit the requests and needs of the township. Expansion to include requests for both refreshment vehicles as well as refreshment carts. They're becoming a little bit more popular in our area over the last couple of years. Also more specific outlining for licensing requirements, general like regulations for both carts and vehicles. Clear outline to explain why a license application may be refused or revoked. In past, we did not have that capability other than the limited resources in our old bylaw. But this provides more safety reasons that weren't clearly outlined in the past, and we have to rely on building code or various setbacks within the fire code, things like that. Also, a clear, more defined exemptions for licensing for special community events. Inclusion of enforcement penalties. If the need arises for additional enforcement through the courts, before we just had one section that outlined we could go to court. The need is not arisen in the past, but it's always best for future that we do include those types of things in any of our future policies, in case the need arises. Additionally, more detailed application form as well as prescribed permission form from landowners. As in the past, it was just one-off basis if we could get a written one-liner from the property owner that they were permitting the operator of this vehicle to actually utilize it. So just something a little more formal in that nature. We're looking to increase the value of the refreshment vehicle license from $250. We suggested $500 because that's a meet in the middle. Municipalities in Leeds and Grenville range from $100 to $1,000, as well as include a small nominal fee of $100 for the licensing of carts.
And that is the conclusion, yes. Good, all right, thank you for the report. I'm gonna open it to comments and questions from committee members. Show of hands, who wants to go? Anyone? John?
Well,
You're next.
I run one of these for a good number of years, so there. It's always just stated in here, a refreshment vehicle or cart, they're listed as the same. And I really think there should be a different definition between a refreshment cart and a refreshment vehicle. A hot dog cart that I run and different ones have run, to charge them the same fee as what you're gonna charge a chip wagon to set up someplace, and right, most of the carts are gonna be, I took it over from Jim George boys, mainly just because we played ball and the ball diamond wanted something to have there, so I run it until I could sell it to somebody else, but they're kind of a service thing that generally it's you for retired people run just more as a community service and to actually make a lot of money. And if they gotta go and pay $200 or $300 or $500 for a thing, you're not going to get anybody to do them because they're not going to make any money. Where a chip wagon sets up, they get a good weekend, they're going to make $1,000 in a weekend in there, so they don't mind paying a decent fee for so. That's the one thing I think, and the one thing I noticed all the way through, and I know there's statements where apply to all health unit things. I really think there should be a place in there saying that the operator has to have a food handling license. Because that's a requirement now that you gotta have, and I think that should be listed in there. That's quite clear that they gotta take the food handling course and have that food handling certificate. The 5 years thing, we gotta renew it every 5 years, but.
Yeah, Mr. Smith?
He asked one question, I already heard what he said. My questions were asked.
Okay, Deputy.
Yeah, in this, right now, they paid $250 to the chair, to the clerk, $250 annually, each chips. And the refreshment card would pay $250 if I had a,
We do not have anything built in for refreshment. cards
no,
right
so
now.
we all pay the same, $250.
We've never really licensed refreshment cards. There's the option for refreshment vehicles, which is definitely a different definition than a human, motorized or immobilized in this case, like
Yeah.
a pedal card.
Mhm.
I incorporated this because there have been, since COVID, a couple individuals that are just children raising monies. It does provide in this, we can do exemptions. I've never made them, I just had them produce the certificate that the health unit was okay with it. But over the last 2 years, we've had a business that has a restaurant plus a food refreshment vehicle, and they also have a cart now sometimes popping up. So I think it's fair that they should be licensed as well if they're hitting up both locations and kind of spreading across.
And we're going from 250 to 500
For the
annually?
refreshment vehicles, that's correct. And that's just kind of a meet in the middle from best practice review.
I'm swallowing that much of an increase that quick, I mean. It's a lot of French fries, I know what John's saying, a good day you can sell, but still. I have an issue with that 500, so. That's
Through
it.
the chair, if I could clarify, it's just not issuing a license. It's me doing a bunch of review and
Mhm.
communicating with the operator, business owner, as well as our fire chief doing multiple inspections.
Understand.
Again, we don't charge for, that's all just incorporated into the license fee. As well as potentially I have to go and check in with them sometimes throughout the year to make sure that if there's something outstanding that was minor, then I have to follow up with them. So
Yeah.
it just factors into a lot of administrative fees, reminding them on an annual basis that this is still required and you still have to provide X, Y, and unit inspection, and make sure nothing's changed and they're still in the good graces of all of it. But it's
Understand.
the will of council, it's just, like I said, we met in the middle of what the line of the fees were.
Yep.
Just agree with all the stuff here around the table here. I have no issue with the price for the chip. For like, you know, that kid that sells us ice cream during the summer out in the parking lot during the meetings. I'd hate to see him have to go under because $500 is too much, and then we don't have ice cream at the meeting.
The chain has a refreshment cart, proposed for $100, but through this, I've always done the waiving of that requirement for a youth that's trying to collect money for a good cause. It's more along the lines for businesses that have now taken upon themselves on top of a business and on top of a refreshment vehicle or on top of something else, they've also added a cart.
One more question, if I may. So
Absolutely.
if I have a small business with 7 carts, are they getting 7 licenses or is that all for 7?
Through the chair, each individual cart or vehicle is a license.
Thank you.
Because there's different locations, different setbacks, different requirements, additional inspections that we have to do, things like that.
Just quick question, so it's the 250, is that been the price that's been charged since 2001? It's never gone up from that?
Through the chair since 2012.
2012.
So it's
But it
time
has,
for.
yeah, it hasn't increased since 2000. No, I have nothing.
You're good?
Well, I don't mind seeing the fees go up. I'm kind of like deputy mayor, I think, doubling the fee. $250 to $500. I remember that, the health unit's going to charge them $100 to come and inspect it too. And it maybe went up, I know it was $100 the last time I had them, they charged to come and inspect it, so. You got that added on top of it too, so I don't know how much it's gone up now, what they charge now to come and do the inspection on. You wanna charge, I understand the the chip wagons that are set up, like they made good money where they're set up, and they are competing against the full-time restaurants that are paying $3,000 and $4,000 tax. They're competing against them too, but I think it's up to council, but I think we've gotta look at everybody's gonna quote percentages. They're not gonna quote that it'll cost $250 more. They're gonna quote the township raises the fees 100%, so.
100%, yeah. Do you have a number in mind, or?
No.
No.
I
I heard.
let the council decide that, so.
Yeah. I don't see his hand.
Yeah, no, I can go.
Okay.
You know, I think I sort of agree with Mr. Hunter, except that since it's been since 2012, I think we have to at some point do the correction and then, you know, maybe have some sort of do this on a more regular basis, the increase, maybe it's an inflationary thing or something when we review our annual fees and just do it then going forward. But I think we do have a catch up from, you know, from 12 years ago, essentially at this point. So I'm not really against the truck side, if you will, the refreshment vehicle side, it being 500. The cart, you know, I'm glad we do some movement on that as far as whether it's required or not, and because I do think things around like for example the Spencerville Fair, you know, I'm assuming we charge 500 for refreshment vehicles and $100 for carts. Is that a true statement to the clerk?
Through the chair for the Spencerville Fair, that's an exemption, so we do not charge them because it's a one-time thing and they're there for a couple of days. And it's hard because it's not always the same groups coming in each year. So we want to continue to promote that they attend the fair, so we made that exemption clear.
Perfect. That's good to hear. And then the only thing that it's sort of I wasn't sure, maybe I just need some clarity on, is the refreshment cart 7.1, where it says that may be permitted anywhere in the township, provided the cart is not stopped at any location longer than necessary to complete a sale, and no time longer than 30 minutes. That just seems I don't know, like so we can't just have a cart stop at a place for the day for if they're having some sort of a small special event there, for instance, that we're not allowing that. I'm sorry, I guess that's to the clerk as well as through the chair. Sorry about that.
Through the chair, we just implemented 7.1, so that way it provides a time frame. We can adjust the time frame. It was just a draft time frame. It just makes it so that way a cart's not set up for the whole summer or the whole season or for a month straight at a single location, because then we may need to adjust for setbacks or for safety measures. If it's in place for a special event, again, it would be falling under the special community event exemption.
Okay, no, that's good then. That's all I had.
I just have one question too. We've had a couple ice cream carts going around the summertime selling. Are they gonna fall under this license or how are they gonna be handled?
Through the chair, they're mobile carts driven by humans power, so they would be considered refreshment carts.
So they'd have to have a license.
Correct. As it is, they are through the health unit, they are required to get that already. Whether or not they do or not, that's part of getting a license to ensure that the ones that are in our community are licensed appropriately through the other mechanisms. They wouldn't require fire inspection, of course, but the health unit, and I don't know if that falls under the safety handling of food.
All gotten an ice cream or something from the 10-year-olds that to ride those bikes around. I certainly like the initiative that they show by doing that, and I hope that by considering or adding, I don't mind adding a license requirement to them. I think that's part of maybe their responsibility, that they actually have a license and they understand the need for the license, but maybe the fee being waived for children that are actually showing the initiative. I think that might make a lot of sense. You know, there's lots of regulation on it. Do we, this is a question to staff, but for refreshment carts locate on either existing, it's a secondary use, if I understand it right, to a property, or it's located on a vacant property. So do we ever collect any actual taxation, and how would we compare it to like a restaurant, let's say? That, you know, in a location, is there any taxation collected, or is the only fee we collect from a refreshment vehicle, you know, the fee that they pay for licensing?
In the chair, most of ours are only collected through this licensing fee. If they're on vacant land, like one of them is, where it had to go through site plan control and additional requirements, that does have a tax. Is not taxed as if it was the same as a full restaurant, I believe. It's similar, but it's definitely more than probably $500.
No, I think, I would say in the majority of cases, the only, fee that you're receiving is the one charge for the license.
Yeah.
Almost everything else is.
Yeah, and I mean, I love refreshment carts. I think, you know, when you see your poutine fests of the world and you get them to come in, or the Spencerville Fairs and you get them to come in, and it's fun and it's part of an environment and it's great. But I'm thinking more the ones that set up and stay, you know, for the season. And again, I think they're a fantastic option, but I look at the considerable investment that somebody like Joe has made into, you know, Joe's business, and that Gina had in Little Sisters, or you know, that they have in the Odd Spot, or Rusty has in the Rustic Spoon in Cardinal. You know, there's a considerable amount of investment, and there's certainly a lot of taxation that's paid on that. And there's, you know, the competitors can come in, offer a product on wheels that they only do during busy times of the busiest times of the year, and pay no taxes. And I just struggle to think that we're worried about you know, such a small raise in fees to those people that are, you know, and I think that they can actually help businesses be better, because I think competition's good, but I just struggle when everybody else paying so much more. So I think it's a very small fee to begin with, at $250, and it certainly is stealth. If somebody let me operate a mobile hair salon, and all I had to pay was $500 in a salon fee, I'd be all over it. So compared to a restaurant, so we need to come up with something, though. I mean, that's the ultimate goal here. Does anyone have a number? Like, I did it real quick, and Joe said 10% per year. I said $10 per year over the last 12 years, which was another $120, got us to $370. Joe said 10% per year. That was too much beyond my mathematical ability to do it per year and then figure out what the total number would be at the end. Anybody have an option? Like, I'm fine with the 500. So
Yeah, see, I had
I'm with the 500 too, Mr. Mayor. Sorry to cut you off.
yeah, no problem, Chris.
I would go 500, but I agree with Mr. Hunter said, people will say, well, people have raised it 100%. So I'd like 400. Then they can't say we raised it to 100%.
Okay, Chris, what did you say? Did you say 5? No.
I said 500. Yep. I'm okay with 500, like I said. But,
yeah.
You know, I can flex down to 400 if we need to, but I'm anyway.
You're 5.
I was 5, but I could go 4.
I'm 5.
I'm 250, but I can go 4.
You're 4. And then what did you guys both think?
I was fine.
I don't think whatever you charge.
There's certainly a will to go to 400, but there's also 3 that have made it very clear that they would support 5. Actually, there's more than that. You can count committee members. I think I'm fine with, let's go with 4 this year, because I do hear the concerns that it could be too much of an increase. And if everybody's okay with the 4, signaling that we will potentially look at it again each year for small incremental increases.
Through the chair, the $100 for the cards, discussion on that topic?
I have zero interest in charging the kids. I have no, I don't know if carts are an issue, like as far as beyond the children, like in my own opinion, I can't speak for anyone else in the committee. The only ones that I have seen have been the kids with the carts, but I do like the idea that they have to have a license. I'm not sure how we remind them that they need to come back, but I like the part of the process, and it involves them in the process. We know they're out there. We can throw it on the website and tell people that, like, there's ways that it makes it a good thing. They're small business people.
Through the chair, the carts haven't actually been an issue at all. There was one last year that was an actual business. So that's where I was building this part in. It wasn't in regards to the use I'm trying to fix them out in the past, just waive the fee totally for this youth. I can build an exemption for that and then have them do the licensing. Licensing in the past, either themselves or their parents have assisted. We haven't required a license, but I have required them to provide proof that it's a safely operating mechanism, and some stuff we went out already to get the approval through the health unit. So for those ones, I can build an exemption for certain age of youth 18 under to do $0 for the sort of part of the license, and for any operating business cards. Are you still looking at 0 or a different dollar value? I'm just gonna try and get some clarifications that way we
Yeah.
can revamp this.
Somebody who has a cart but not a youth.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Look at you, cart but not a youth. Interest? No interest.
Cart and what?
A cart but not a youth.
I agree with Kurt.
So $100.
No, 100.
I'm good with 100 if it's an adult.
John?
Make a lot of money on hot dogs.
Yeah, I'm fine with 100 too. Rebecca.
Yeah, and so to the mayor, I think 100 is fine with me too. I think the reality is that you know, if anyone, when somebody takes and goes to one of these craft shows that we have around the township, there's always a fee they pay as well, and $100 I think is actually low for that kind of thing. But you know, if they use it more than once, it's certainly gonna, you know, dilute its cost as well. I'm okay with $100 as well.
We're good? Good enough direction there?
To the chair, I believe so. I can make those changes and we can do a secondary review.
We are on to item, I think it's I,
Yes.
which is the OPP detachment board. I need a 5-minute.
To the chair, you want to call it a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, if we can, we need a bathroom break, so that's possible. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so motion for 5-minute recess. Yeah. You're gonna listen. Well, you need to move it. You need to move it. I can't do it.
I'll second it.
Okay, then all in favor. Okay, 5-minute break. Oh. Recording again? All right, so do I need to move to come back in or?
To the chair, just call it. Just,
Okay, so we're back in session. Okay, back in session after a brief 5-minute break. And we are returning on item I, right? 8I, which is the South Grenville OPP Detachment Board, and CAO, you'll speak to that one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this has been, I believe the process started back in 2019, in 2021. The motion went forward with respect to 2 boards, one sort of a South Grenville board and one a North Grenville board. And last, I think June or July of 2023, the ministry has approved the 2 boards. So we are in a position to sort of start to get the board membership filled with, there's 3 members from council, so 1 from each of the 3 municipalities, 1 from Augusta, 1 from Prescott, 1 from Edwardsburg Cardinal. We start there, and then there will be 3 public representatives. And really what we're looking for right now is to appoint the council representative. And my recommendation is to be consistent with the township of Elected and the town of Prescott, who each appointed their respective mayors as the representative. So it's put forth in the recommendation to have our mayor represent the council spot. And then the 3 mayors and the 3 CAOs would meet. We would look to advertise for those public positions, and then based on those submissions, that committee would review and then bring back recommendations for the public members to each individual council for that appointment. So basically, there's provided a fair bit more background than I would fully present, and mainly that's because a fair bit of that work actually was done before this council came into their seats. So basically that is it in a nutshell, and certainly happy to answer any questions that members may have at this time.
Thank you, CAO. Certainly been a long haul to get to this spot. I can say from my standpoint, you know, I'm thankful that you took me into consideration of putting forward. I certainly I don't think there's a board that I would like to sit on more in addition to being mayor than a police services board. I just think it is such a you know, a difficult time in policing right now, and being part of that process and being part of that board, I find that really appealing, and I would love that the group recommend, you know, continue the recommendation and move me forward to be that representative. Okay, now starting, having said that, you guys can now kick me out and put somebody else up. Let's have that for discussion, because there is a recommendation and there is about the community. I mean, the other part is the community and like the ad hoc to select the community member, right? So anyone want to speak to it?
Just have one question to this, Mayor, to the CAO. It says additional training required for the board members under the active attachment board members. What kind of complete training do you have to be on the board? Is there any indication of what you have to go through? How long will it take?
Yes, so through the chair, I think Councilor Smale, if you look on page 105.
101.
101, that should be 101.
About halfway down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 stops down.
Yeah, so if you look at the following page, it's sort of outlined step 4 with respect to the training and required training. So it's ministry approved. I do not know the exact training as it. Sorry.
I can tell you. So detachment board members must successfully complete training on the role of the detachment board and the responsibility of the members of the board, human rights and systemic racism, the diverse, multiracial, multicultural character of Ontario society, the rights and cultures of First Nation, Inuit, Métis peoples, and additional training as prescribed in regulation by the Solicitor General. A detachment board member cannot exercise the powers or perform the duties of their position until they have successfully completed all of the training on the roles and their responsibilities.
That's what I'm going to take.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I said, like, I'm not sure if the minister has actually approved content and what that duration is at this particular point, but certainly will be worth a follow-up with respect to that.
That's for me.
What else?
Sounds like you'd be perfect for the spot.
Okay, there is a recommendation. It's fun facts, it's fast facts. Recommendation, that committee recommend the council appoint the mayor to represent the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal on the South Grenville OPP Detachment Board and support an ad hoc South Grenville Detachment Board selective committee being formed, consisting of one appointed member from each respective partner municipality with a clear mandate to review and recommend community member applications to the participating councils. So that's the recommendation. Let's go for a mover and second. And then
I would love to move that.
move it.
I'll second it. Okay.
Thanks. So question would be to CAO. That sounds like it doesn't necessarily have to be a council member on the ad hoc, that we just like we appoint. Are we looking staff? What are we looking?
I think from the public.
Yeah, so I think, I go through the chair, we would be looking at, the three mayors and the three CAOs as that sort of ad hoc committee, and then returning to, once the submissions have been received and reviewed, then making recommendations to each participating, council on the public member.
Okay, so the ad hoc would be the three mayors, the three CAOs. Okay. Okay, so that's sort of the suggestion. I mean, if there's a discussion at this point to happen, it would be around whether or not people like this group or this body supported the idea of it being the three mayors and the three CAOs, or if they wanted somebody different to bring those community members forward for consideration by council. I have no issue with it. Fine, I mean, it's good. They're gonna have to apply to be considered, right?
Right.
Yes. Further comments, questions? Nothing, okay, then I'm gonna call the question. All in favor of the recommendation?
Aye.
Okay, so unanimous. And if I am correct, I think the first meeting to do the first steps is May the 24th.
That is tentative date for that we have to.
Right, so we'll finish that. We're on to the item then 8J, which is strategic plan community engagement report.
Great, thank you, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just providing committee with the copy of the engagement report that was received by the town, or received from Town Hall Consulting. It's the 9 pages. It highlights sort of the opportunities that were received either through the completion of the survey or the focus groups, feedback from focus groups. I would say on the overall, it would appear sort of statement area seem to capture, sort of hit the mark with respect to at least those that completed the survey and the focus groups that the council and staff had sort of hit those areas that need to. So we're looking at least at this next phase to provide a copy to each of the participated in that engagement process, and we will work with Town Hall Consulting to sort of refine and see if there's any of the areas that feedback was provided that we may want to look at adjusting that draft strategic plan before we sort of return to committee and council for the, sort of the approval of that strategic plan. I think all around a good news report.
I thought everything in it was fantastic. How far out are we from that adoption of, I know this says 6-month health check on it, but how far out are we from actually adopting a strategic plan so that every time we move something forward, we know how that relates back to moving things or strategic priorities forward.
Yeah, ideally, we would have a draft potentially back in June. I'm just not sure if we can hit that June timeframe, and maybe in July.
Yeah.
And then sort of that 6-month health check would probably be closer to the end of the year. Like leading up into the budget timeframe.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that is what it is, so. Okay, questions, anyone, comments?
90% is a good, you know, I think it's, that agrees with. And you're saying 20 people, 30 people, how's that?
I believe, if
Can
I'm
you-
not mistaken, it was somewhere between 40 and 45 individuals that completed the survey framework, so
Sorry,
about 40 to 45. I'm not sure that exact number.
like say 50 total?
I would say not 50 people total completed the survey part, but we would have had probably 20 to 25 additional that would have been part of the focus groups from various sectors. So I think, you know, the best that we could have done was hit the tax insert with the link to the survey. It was perfect timing, so anybody that viewed the tax insert would have the link and had the opportunity to complete the survey. So ideally, it would have been nice to have more surveys completed, but that's the reality.
Yeah, no, I was just curious about, I mean, we had, it didn't agree. And-
How you didn't agree?
Yeah, no, I do not agree.
I would say, I would say that you'd be in single
Single-digit?
yeah. I would say you're probably based on that, you're probably looking at 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can guess.
There. it's
Yeah.
all Good, but still.
4 or
Yeah,
5.
that's right. Yeah, sure.
It was in and around between 40 and 45 individuals that completed the survey. And then we would have had additional 20 to 25 on the in focus groups.
This is just information.
We would have had probably
Let's go home.
6 people, I believe, attend the open house.
Small number,
It ends up having a small number.
Yeah, unquestionable.
Good, so the information only, right?
Information only at this time.
Good, thanks for the information. Any further comments, so we can move on? No, all right, reduce summer meeting schedule. Item K. Want to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, proposing to reduce the meetings during the summer in July and August, to sort of one council meeting on July 22nd and a council meeting on August 26th. Sort of gives an opportunity to assist with staff holiday schedule, give an opportunity to sort of have both committee members and regenerate just a little bit in preparation for a busy fall and into the budget season, and also allows the staff to focus in on the capital projects. We've got a number of big capital projects this year. And it does take a fair bit of to prepare the reports and get the agendas ready. So putting this out to see if committee and council have any interest on a reduced summer schedule.
Well, I think I'll speak to it further. I certainly do. I mean, I think if we can manage the business to to the extent and to the need that it can be, I think a lot of the things that should be in place already are in place. My only worry is, you know, with, you know, we do have that reduced capacity or that reduced ability to, you know, for public meeting calling or meeting within, you know, I know we're under a very strict timeline now as far as applications process goes. So, but I mean, we can always call a special meeting if we had to, you know, to comply with that short turnaround. Other than that, unless there's anything that's so pressing that it can't be dealt with in September, I mean, those meetings tend to be very light anyway. I'm all for it. As long as we get the job done. Sorry? You'll move it? I was looking a little more for a support. Or against than a move, but I guess a support, moving is
A
support.
lot of people go away, and there's a lot of things that get done in summertime. You just don't have time for meetings.
Take 6 meetings out, well, why can't we do it in November, December too? Because it's Christmas. That's all. I mean, I don't know, I've been so dedicated coming every Monday for 6 years now. That there's always business. Always, and to let these 6 weeks go off. I'm not sure if that's. That's a, you know, I just don't think we should be doing the 6 weeks. That's my feelings.
I
Am I
think,
gonna shut it down? No.
I think you're gonna have, you're gonna have 4 weeks between council meetings and then you'll still have a port management meeting
Yeah, we lose 6 meetings.
in there as well.
So
So,
we lose 6 meetings. That's what we lose. From the 22nd to the August 26th, we lose 6 meetings.
care to outline which 6 they would be?
No, I'm just going by the dates of what he want, what the CEO came with from July 22nd. Be the 1, 2, 4th in July. And the 5th in July. 5th is a holiday, so that'd be 6th, 12th and 19th, 26th. So, we're not back to the 3rd of September.
There should only be 4, right?
So through the chair, you would look at not having, community development, in operations or port during those, or during those. That's what's being proposed. And the disbursements would come, the board disbursements would come to the council meeting as opposed to being approved at the board meeting for those 2 months.
So is there anything you'd want to put back in there? So we can change the load level a little bit?
Well,
It doesn't have to be all 6.
1, 2, I have my port meeting 17th, so we're good there. I'm gonna miss it, no, sorry, 1, 2, 3, yeah, I'm gonna get it,
You'll miss it twice.
no. Right? So it's 22nd, so I'm gonna get it to 15. It's the third Monday, port.
I'm looking at the
Yeah,
CEO,
so-
just to make sure exactly what we're talking about.
So just confirm you have, June council meeting. In July, you would not have the community development, you would not have admin operations, you would not have the port. You would have a council meeting on that 4th Monday. And then you would go another 4 weeks. And then have a council meeting on August 26th. So any actions, any time sensitive action items would be on the council agendas in July and August. The disbursements and then any, if there was an arise for meeting that needed to be held, then we would arrange to have a public meeting held during that time.
And not that this is a wonderful example, Deputy Mayor, but I can say that from a United Counties level, there are no meetings in August.
Didn't know what?
No meetings in August.
Oh, no, that's county.
And through you, I can agree to a degree with the deputy mayor is saying, you know, 2 months seems like a lot. I'll go with the table, but I'd be much more comfortable if we tried this for August, and either July or August, but not both.
Well, I'm not gonna rock the boat, I just want to tell you my, you know, how I
I don't
felt.
think it has
Rock the
merit.
boat, let's
What
get something,
you're
so,
saying
you know,
has merit.
well-
We took this job to do it.
Yeah, I just find, well, like our CEO says, if something pressing, we can always call emergency meeting. But
We certainly have a lot of meetings. And-
absolutely,
And they're most often very wholesome and needed, and the idea is that there are a few times during the year, like January, we don't have CDC. There are reduced needs for. Then they're worth spending 3 hours worth of time, but I don't wanna have a meeting just to have a meeting, so. Yes.
Want to see if Councilor Ward has any comments?
Right now, all I see is unstable.
I'm unstable. I think that personally.
It was right on your forehead too, actually.
There, how's that? I hear what the deputy mayor and Mr. Councilor Martell are saying. In that I wouldn't mind possibly more of an update from the port, for instance. And not just disbursements, but at least one of those 2 months, progress on their the capital projects they're doing, for instance, would be nice. But summer's usually slower. I think we saw that last year as well, where we had really low content. At least I feel that way in those meetings. And I think if we have to call a special council meeting because we have something come up, then we can address that at the time. So.
I kind of echo that as well. Like, I know there's a lot going on with projects at the port this year, and we're really concerned about making sure that they are ready and up to date for, the beginning of that wet corn harvest season, right? So we want to make sure we stay on top of that. So I think I do agree that make you happy if both those were back in?
it made me real happy.
Yeah. Anything else?
No,
Well,
but
no,
I
there's
just,
lots of-
well, there's lots, but, yeah, I just didn't, I don't know why, because I'm gonna have port meeting third week in July, and you're starting it the 15th, and you're starting this July 22nd, or am I reading this wrong?
So through the chair, I would say you're interpreting it incorrect on what I'm proposing. I'm proposing one meeting in July, which is July 22nd.
Only the 22nd.
And I'm proposing one meeting in August as August 26th.
Oh, gracious.
That's the minimum. So you'd lose 6.
Oh, yeah, I'm all for you. I'm all for it, because I thought we're going from July 22nd to August 26th. That's,
I still don't think you understand it.
yeah,
So from the start of July to
Yeah.
the start of September, there'll only be 2 meetings.
the 29th, right, the end of the year. Is that right? Of July, end of the month? No? I'm not getting it then.
I think that's
Sorry.
somewhat.
No,
July 22nd, there would be a meeting, but the last meeting would be the last council
correct.
meeting of
The
June,
only meeting in July would be July 22nd.
the only meeting.
Only meeting.
Only meeting.
And the only meeting in August would be August 26th.
council meetings.
That is what, I proposed.
Okay. Now I get it. I
And,
don't know.
and I understand you're not for it, and that's okay, that's.
But
No,
the-
I've
but adding the
got to
buildings
propose
back in
something.
enough for you?
Yeah, yeah. But, yeah, but it's not going anywhere, it's 15, I'm still gonna have,
It would be going somewhere if we approve this. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be having a port meeting on the 15th. There would be no meetings from the June council meeting.
yeah, no,
Until the
I gotta
July
have that,
council.
I gotta have the 15th.
Okay, so let's add the 15th. I think Chris has said it, I've said it. So I'm okay with it. So let's add the 15th back. And then what about, do you want the August one back, obviously, as well?
26, it would be, right? No, Monday's a holiday.
26 is council meeting. It's the
So
Monday before that.
6, be the 19th.
So that, I believe that's right in the middle of, April.
Email.
Oh, shit, oh, shoot, yes.
So that was one of the reasons.
We did talk about that, right?
If you wanted, if you wanted.
Could we move up the port, like to the 12th?
Yeah, but is there anything, can we reach out to the general manager and see if there's going to be enough information to have that meeting?
Through
To
the
the
chair, I did. Forward, and I think that, obviously the two big items were the disbursements, ensuring that they were approved, and that's why, it's been incorporated in with respect to that. And understanding that if there are any, pressing items or items that are gonna require, approval in that timeframe, that they're on the council agenda for those particular months. But as indicated, there is always the opportunity to, when needed, to call, a special. There's a variety of options.
We can also cancel the 15th if we don't need it. So for me, I'd prefer to put the 15th, I think, back in. I think that it sounds like everybody wants to add that.
Of July?
Yeah.
I could, because August not gonna change too much. I mean, we should have everything for the port at least. We should be pretty close on our capital's coming.
Well, if there's concerns, then
Yeah.
as chair, you
Yes.
can address those
Yeah,
concerns.
and
And
I-
if you
yeah.
feel a meeting's needed, then we'll have a meeting.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we meet in September.
okay.
Okay, Chris, oh, just in time I lost him. So my, as chair of, this committee, I would say that I'm very comfortable with, staff recommendation, and if they believe that we need to call that meeting, they'll give us lots of advance notice that there are things that need to be dealt with, and then we'll deal with them. Otherwise, I think a break is welcome. I'd like to know Chris's feelings on it, but
Are you gonna recommend?
I think he
July
sort of
15th?
already said that it's been pretty quiet in the summer and there was very little on.
But are you gonna
so-
bring the port in?
Yeah, I already did. Yeah, I asked for the 15th.
Yeah, I haven't got an issue after that.
Okay, can we add the 15th thing back into this?
Modify the recommendation in any way they feel.
Yeah, okay, so we want to add July 15th port management meeting in, and also an understanding, I think it's been very clear around the table that if there is a need to call any meeting to make sure the process is followed in a timely manner, we certainly don't want to shirk our responsibilities here.
So,
Hold on, Chris is back, so. While you're back there, Chris, I just want to make sure as CPC chair, you'd be okay with missing both July and August meetings unless absolutely the need for one of them to be called.
Yeah, we just have obviously a broader discussion, as long as your point doesn't affect the timelines for anything, as long as we have the discussion at council meeting. We've had those before without any issues, especially because we do know we shut that one down every January, right? And in December, I believe, as well. So, and we get through, and that's fine. So,
Yeah, and we go for quite a spell in December without one too, so.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, so I think then it's clear that I'm okay with those two. I think the chair there is okay with them. The chair here wants one of the two back on, and then if there is an absolute need for any of them, then we'll just add them back on. So 22nd of July, 15th of July. July and 29th of August.
So,
26th of August.
I think the chair, to look at the reduced schedule, only, sort of in July, having a port management committee meeting and council meeting, and in August, a council meeting. And then that will give us an opportunity just to tweak the July, as there were 5 Mondays in July. But the 4th, which would typically be the port management meeting. I wanted, we should confirm that, moving to 15th is manageable in that, in that end of it. If not, we'll look at the 22nd and the 29th, and then August 26th.
Could we do both, same night? No. The
No, 'cause
22nd?
Anything that gets passed needs the time to get to council to be passed, right? Yeah. You need the week between the two.
I think during
The council would stay on the 22nd. This is getting who's on first to me. Council would stay on 22nd, and then the port management meeting would be the week before, so that if anything went through in port management, it would give a week to get it to council to ratify it on the 22nd.
That's the 15th.
Sound good to me.
Is that right or not? Am I wrong or am I right on that? 15th for the first of July and then 22nd?
That works.
Am I wrong?
That's for the meetings.
I just want to make sure the dates are correct.
Correct. Those dates are correct. The only thing I'm saying that in a typical month
22nd,
where there's 5 Mondays,
So
the
we take the
4th
third one.
Monday, you take the 3rd one off. The 4th Monday is port, and the 5th Monday is council. So what I did was split the difference
Yeah.
between the council meeting and the port, and made it the 4th.
And through the chair, it might be the kind of thing where they might have to streamline the port meeting in July if it's that early. I know they've complained
Meeting then.
that that gets too
22nd
early, right?
Versus 15th.
No, it doesn't, whatever it's gonna fit, yeah. 22nd, 29th.
I'm fine with whatever dates they are, just let me
Me
know.
too. With the board,
Just add a port.
yeah, just had a board meeting in July only.
There is a recommendation.
Do,
There is, so if I can maybe recommend that council reduce the meeting schedule during July and August to a port management committee meeting and council meeting in July and a council meeting in August.
I'll move that,
Second by,
no discussion.
why? Sounds like grants and donations. Further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Sorry, Steve, I had to do that. All right, councillor inquiries and notice of motion.
I
Does
have
anyone have a inquiry or a notice of motion to bring forward?
I have one for you, Mr. Mayor. We have a resident on Benson Street who is with us here tonight, and I thank you very much for your patience and listening to all this exciting stuff tonight. This resident came home a few nights ago to a note in her door telling her she needed to cut her grass from bylaw. She is involved in No Mow May, which is a program where you don't mow your lawn in May to help with the pollinators and such. She spoke with the bylaw officer who she did not get anywhere, no resolution that she's happy with. So what I would like to suggest is that possibly we can amend the Clean Yards bylaw to give mowing your grass in May a pass. Enforcing lawn cutting in the month of May.
Okay, and at what meeting would you like to bring that motion forward?
I guess I'm gonna have to bring that forward at the next possible meeting.
Council.
which would be council. The caveat here is this resident has been told she needs to have her grass cut way before that meeting. Is there any avenue for her to appeal or to postpone until we see if that bylaw thing actually happens?
I think we're, it's not debate, right, in notice of motions or inquiries. I guess the inquiry is, can we tell bylaw how to enforce and interpret bylaws? I think, you know, the answer to that is no. We cannot, as elected officials, attempt to influence ongoing enforcement. So we set policy, they enforce the policies, right? So I get that it's a unique circumstance. I think my understanding of it is that, you know, May is for educational purposes when we see yards that have longer grass that clean yards bylaw. That the idea is that understanding that there are doing, you know, maybe differently, there's education on our part to learn as well. But in my mind, I don't think bylaws enforcement would typically be in May. I think it would be, you know, you get that warning and then you get that, you know, you get that educational component and then they come back and give you, you know, that time. I wouldn't anticipate that any of that would happen in the month of May. You know, there may be signals otherwise to that, but I certainly can't talk to John about it. It's not within my purview. I'm not going to the integrity commissioner or the ombudsman because I tried to tell by law how to do his job. So
in that vein, through you, Mr. Mayor, the CAO, does the resident have any avenue where this can be appealed?
Well, and I think through the chair, I would say that we always, from a bylaw perspective, follow the process. We haven't been heavy-handed. We have been educational and through a process where there would be orders to comply, items like that with respect to that before we get to that stage. I think we're in a difficult situation in a number of fronts because we just had education. So it's a bit of a challenging circumstance that I don't think can be answered tonight. But I would certainly say that what we're trying to do in that proactive end of it is to not end up being farther in the year where we have clean yards issues, ending up in complaints, and we're ending up in some other issues that may result from a lack of maintenance. But I'm also well aware that we just had a conversation with respect to a pollinator garden this evening, right? So I certainly understand the various lenses that you know, individuals are looking through, and it's something that may have to be looked at fulsome, you know, more fully.
Yeah, so I think, you know, from a mayor standpoint, Councillor, I think we've raised, you know, the issue. The CAO has heard the discussion, and I think let's leave it to staff to bring that. You know, we certainly want to see it back as a discussion item where we get some information on how to proceed with the potential in the future for no. And whatever they come up with as a resolution for the issues that are ongoing this year, we stay out of those, you know, those issues, and we allow staff to do staff's portion, and then we do our portion moving forward. Fair?
I can live with that.
Yeah, I think that satisfies everything. I think everybody here wants to help bees and do our part with bees. And we certainly don't want to start trying to tell law enforcement how to do their job. So let's try to make it so that we do it in the that work? Yes,
It's for me.
okay. Good. You need anything else out of that? No. Good, all right. Are there further inquiries and notices of motion? None, then we'll go on to mayor's reports. All right, so, we attended, a lot of council attended the Firefighters Association, appreciation Friday night. Was well attended, the food was fantastic, there were several awards given out, and we even hoped a little fun at Matt Wallace and Mark Bruce with an award, and I just wanted to say staff, thank you on very short notice to get that award ready. Certainly everybody got a good kick out of that award. Last week on Thursday night, I got a call from Patterson. I believe Steve got a call from Will as well, to let us know that day he had received an update from IESO that the Edwardsburg Cardinal Potentia Skyview project had been selected by to move forward. It was one of the 10 projects province-wide that will move forward and see completion. So I spoke briefly to Minister Todd Smith, and I expressed to him our continued support and commitment to doing our part to drive economic development in Edwardsburg Cardinal, and not just Edwardsburg Cardinal, but all of Eastern Ontario in a responsible and what we think is, the way that the world's moving forward with electrification. The reality is we'll have brownouts if we don't do projects like this while everybody continues to consume. The other thing we won't have is investment in Eastern Ontario if we can't supply those large facilities with the kind of energy that they need. John, you sat through lots of job site challenge discussions last year, and if we're going to attract an EV manufacturer or something like that to our area without them to have constant and steady supply of power, we're not gonna be able to get them in Eastern Ontario. So the fact that we only have one in Eastern Ontario and it's ours, it also is the largest in Canada as well. I think it's a good news story. I think at its max potential, it'll be a chance to source $450,000 in revenue every year for 20 years. So that's an enormous hit for the township. So with that, I think that's it for mayor's reports today. Anything else from you guys? No. All right. Do I need a mover and a seconder for my mayor's report? No, just that's it. Okay. So question period, question person left, and we're going into closed session. We're going to go into closed session. Before we go into closed session, Chris, I'm gonna put you on the spot for just 1 second, okay? I know you're away on vacation.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you're alone.
I am, yes, yep.
And that nobody's listening in on your conversation, nobody can hear the conversation that's going on, and that your internet and is secure and stable.
Yeah, so the internet is, like I said, it's secure and stable. It's actually through my cell phone data, so no problem there. And yeah, I'm in my hotel room by myself actually.
Okay.
So my wife is with their friends. So
Okay, all right, good enough. And so if that situation should change, like if ID happens to compact, please I don't want any issue with the confidentiality portions of it, Chris.
yeah, for sure.
I know we all do electronic meetings. all understand the rules. I do, and I know you're in a, and you can take a break and ask her to go back out, or you can leave the meeting, okay? I just
Okay,
don't wanna
no
put you in a weird.
Yeah, no, there's no issue like that. I'm gonna text her when she's ready to come back anyways, actually, so no problem, so.
Okay, awesome, thanks for that. So then, does somebody have a motion to bring forward to go into closed session?
No,
I do.
I've got it, Chair.
Chair, since it's 10:10, we might as well do the motion to extend beyond the 10 PM curfew while we're at it.
So before we do that, I need a motion to extend. Nobody has one on the table?
No, just a motion.
Okay, so moved by Chris Ward, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh, all in favor. Okay, motion to extend, approved. Okay, who has the motion to go
I do.
into closed session?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Waddy Smail, that committee proceeds into closed session at 9:51 PM in order to address a matter pertaining to A, section 239 personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, specifically meetings of closed session dated January 8th, 2024, and 5th, 2024. B, section 239 personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically committee recruitment. C, section 2392C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, specifically Byers Road property.
Awesome, thank you. All
You're
right,
welcome.
call the question to go into closed session. All in favor? Okay, we are in closed. We're in closed session. And okay, somebody has the
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Waddy Smail, that the closed meeting of committee does now adjourn and the open meeting does now resume at 10:44 PM.
late one. All right, so I'll call the question then to come out of closed and back into open session. All in favor? Thanks, Chris.
That was a yes, no
Okay,
problem.
so reporting out of closed session, we met in closed session to deal with 3 items. One of those items, item A, was personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically the minutes of closed session dated January 8th, 2024 and January 25th, 2024. And I believe Councillor Smail has those minutes.
I do, moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Steve Dillabaugh, that the committee receives and approves the closed session minutes dated January 25th, 2024.
All right, and I will call the question on approval of the closed session minutes. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're good with the minutes. So then continuing on reporting out of closed session. So that was that covers the report out, the closed, we reviewed and looked at the closed session minutes. Item B, we met under section 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically committee recruitment. And we discussed adding members to the committee body, and we gave direction to staff regarding that. Item C is section 239(2)C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of the land by the local municipality or local board, specifically Byers Road property. In this instance, we gave direction to the CAO. And that is it for reporting out of closed session. Does someone have our adjournment?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Mr. Smail, that the committee does now adjourn 10:46 PM.
Right, non-debatable. I'll call the question. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thanks for attending, Chris.
No problem at all. No
Enjoy the
problem
rest of
at
your
all.
vacation.
Don't
Yeah,
forget to
thanks,
bring
and I'll
back
see-
something, eh?
No, exactly. I'll see most of you guys on Monday. Oh, you guys on Monday, I guess, and some of you before that.